And what a great good evening to all of you joining us this Monday, April the 7th, 2025. A joy for me, your host for the show tonight, Reverend Dr. Ferdinand Nichols. Pleasure to have you joining us. All of you from wherever you're coming on board with us, we do appreciate your support and you're taking this show and not only coming on and watching it, but also sharing it. Excuse me. And I'm going to ask you, please, to make sure you share, 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 and not just share, not just view, but on particularly YouTube and Facebook, give us the thumbs up so that we can our algorithms could be in a better position, that we would come up better on YouTube, better on Facebook, and therefore get a lot more exposure. We appreciate you doing that for us tonight. Uh, well, tonight, what should I say? We've had a eventful week. It just seems that every week, week to week, that I come on the Monday night show, there is so much that has happened during that week. Of course, we've had, regrettably, another series of deaths due to violence of one sort or the other. We've also had a tremendous march on Saturday, and we certainly were able to hear the people, and I hope that those in authority would have heard what the people said on that march on Saturday. And we certainly are appreciative of all of you who turned out. We want to thank you for being there on Saturday. I'm sure that Marcy has done that because, of course, we have the Sunday night show before we get to tonight. And I'm pretty sure that she would have thanked you. And also, of course, we want to thank the appropriate authorities for being present to make sure that everything went through seamlessly without any issues or problems or anything of the sort. So let me welcome all of you that are joining us this evening by name. My goodness, again. And listen, I really appreciated so many of you that came up to me and you were saying, who you were and identifying, I didn't know who you were here in the chat, but you came up on Saturday and indicated who you were. And we really, really do appreciate that so very, very, very much. And we want to say thank you for your support. Well, of course, Queen Bee, yes, and Junie Rock, good evening to all of you. Bejan Boy, Born Again, and Vernon Garnes, Jacqueline Aline, and Judy Jills. Judy, good to see you again this evening. Yes, I'm a proud Bajan too. Lucinda Aline and Marcia, I'm going to get to that national anthem in a moment. Marcia, don't you worry. Monica Ince and Sandra Brewster, thank you all so much for being here, and good night to you as well. Great to have you, all of you, the members of the loyal opposition, this country's opposition, not a partisan group. I've said it here before, and Marcy has said it before. We are not aligned to any party. I have issued invitations to the government to join us here, to come on board. If you want to be a part of the show, just let us know. Contact Marcia 2367000. We have expressed it to them. If they don't take it up, that's not our fault. If the opposition takes it up, then praise God, somebody's picking it up. So you can feel free to join us any night. Just contact Marcia 2367000 and you tell her that you'd like to be on the show. Mark Boland, good night to you as well. Emma Hoyt, good night. And Flojo Maloney, Marcia Militaroni, again, thank you as well, sir. Good evening to you, and God bless you. Appreciate you being here as well tonight. Now we are at 298, going to 300. Marcia, I'm going to go for this national anthem. Don't you worry. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem of the Republic of Barbados. strict guardians of our heritage, firm craftsmen of our faith. I want to repeat that. Strict guardians of our heritage, firm craftsmen of our faith. Ladies and gentlemen, repeat with me, please, our national pledge. I pledge allegiance to my country, Barbados, and to my flag, to uphold and defend their honor, and by my living to do credit to my nation wherever I go. Well, let me take this opportunity to just continue to welcome a few of you, if I can, that have come on since we did the national anthem. Owen Hines, Sir Alfred Benjamin, pleasure to have you, sir, from Brooklyn, New York. Again, thank you for being here. Mavis Lashley, Maria Watson, a joy to have you. Jade Emperor, 3, Marcette Clark, great to have you as well. Joyanne Faith and Sandra Watkins, Mildred Ben, good night to you, and Robert Malin, good night to you as well. Victor Lewis, Victor, good night. Great to have you on watching us tonight. Thank you, sir. And Cedric Strawn, Cami, a real pleasure to have all of you joining us. Matthew Brown, good night to you as well. And it's so great to have all of you. Ronald Hoy. I hope I have that right, Ronald Hoy. But listen, nevertheless, great to have all of you with us this evening. And just to get back to that line in the national anthem, of course, the entire national anthem tells us really why this show is here in plenty and in time of need. This is a time of need. In plenty and in time of need. When this fair land was young, our brave forefathers sowed the seed from which our pride is sprung. A pride that makes no wanton boast. In other words, it ain't easy. We're proud to be who we are, and that's a good pride. That's not a bad pride. A pride that makes no wanton boast of what it has withstood, that binds our hearts from coast to coast, from St. Lucie to St. Michael, from St. James to St. John, binds our hearts from coast to coast, the pride of nationhood. Of course, we are a republic today. We don't yet have our Republican Constitution. That's another subject for another time. I don't want to touch on that tonight. But here we are this evening together again in terms of speaking and expressing the concerns that we have as civil society. And we have every right to be expressing our concerns. As a matter of fact, based on what the government has expressed during their campaign program in 2022, they committed to 3 things. Actually, I was saying 2, but they're actually 3: transparency, accountability, and of course, the revealing of the assets of all of them prior to sitting in Parliament. When they get to Parliament, it's not prior really, when they get to Parliament, they would reveal their assets going into Parliament and reveal them when they're leaving. Of course, I don't think that revelation has ever occurred to the best of my knowledge. I'm not aware that it ever has. So on the matters of transparency, if we're asking all of the questions we're asking, then transparency is a problem. And on the matters of accountability, when we observe the attitude of some of the members of cabinet and some of the members of parliament, when questions are asked of them, it would suggest to me quite clearly that you don't think you need to give an account to anyone. But listen, you are servants, and it may not be a nice thing for you to hear coming from the people, but we are your employers. You are our employees. We elected you, we voted for you to look after our business, not to look after the business of the European Union, not to look after the business of climate change activists, not to look after the business of the World Health Organization or the World Economic Forum or any other, Davos or any of the others. We elected you to look after the business of Barbados for the well-being of Barbadians. Now, you may debate that all of your journeys around the world is in the interest of Barbados, but there are many who don't share that sentiment. And as a result of that, you should be given an account. As a matter of fact, ma'am, you leave this country and we don't even know when you've left. Now, I don't know if there's any position, and I'd have to ask the experts at this, where the prime minister leaves the country and the people who you could imagine, I walk out my office and then tell my boss where I'm going and that I'm leaving. You know, when I come back, I won't have a job. So you need to let people know what you're doing. You're accountable to the people. This is not a joke. This is not politics as it used to be back in your days with Errol Barra, Tom Adams, and Bree St. John, and Vic Johnson, and all the rest of us. We know all of that. This is, let me see what it says here on my computer, 2025. This is not 1996, 1993. It's not even 2018, because a lot has transpired since 2018. This is 2025. Now, quickly, I want to move on to touch on something that someone sent to me today. And I must say, our hearts grieve at the loss of so much life that we are witnessing. I can't even begin to empathize. Um, it may be, I observe that some of you say I'm dragging or maybe sometimes sticking. It could be the internet, it could be mine, or it might be yours as well. I am not seeing anything from my end, but if it is, just beer with lime. Okay, sorry, is it still lime? I don't even know if it still is. Flow. Flow, right. Just beer with flow. I trust you're hearing me okay, though. I trust you're hearing me okay. So someone sent some information to me this afternoon, and I really I was moved by it, and I wanted to share this with you, if you would permit me to, in the time, the short time that I have. And it has to do with a gang takeover that could have been prevented, a call to Barbados. And the individual writes to me and says, between 2010 and 2014, I raised the alarm on the growing gang presence in Barbados. I warned that if we did not take swift and deliberate action, we would find ourselves in a national crisis, one marked by an increase in murders, driven by initiation rights, retaliation, territorial disputes, and revenge. Unfortunately, those warnings were not met with the urgency they deserved, and today we are witnessing the very consequences I feared. Gangs have deeply infiltrated our communities, and they are reshaping the behavior and mindset of our young people. Many now feel they must arm themselves just to survive. I will never forget what one young man told me: I prefer to kill them than they kill me. That mentality, born out of fear, trauma, and a sense of lawlessness, led to more weapons in the hands of our youth and more lives lost. It's no longer just teenagers or young adults. Even our school children are walking around with weapons to protect themselves on a daily basis. Let that sink in. These are children carrying knives and other weapons in their school bags because they feel their lives are at risk. This is no longer just a gang problem. This is a national emergency. This is beginning to look more like a takeover of crime in our country than anything I've seen in years. Innocent people have become victims, caught in the crossfire of gang initiations or senseless shootings intended to send warnings, uh, or instill fear. These are not isolated incidents. Communities across Barbados report hearing gunshots, often from young boys who find and experiment with illegal firearms in remote areas. The psychological impact is immense. People are afraid to leave their homes. Children grow up traumatized by the constant sound of gunfire. Families grieve without justice. Some young men now walk our streets with levels of weaponry that rival what we see in military services. These aren't just petty criminals, they are soldiers in an underground war. And to them, their lifestyle is not just survival, it's the only life they've known. It feeds their families. It gives them a sense of power, identity, and purpose. They are prepared to sacrifice and even die for it. This is what a gang takeover looks like. It is not something that creeps silently. It is loud. It is bold. It shows up in public displays of violence, in daylight murders, in drive-bys, and in the way people have normalized fear. A gang takeover is when crime becomes the teacher of our youth and the streets become the schools of rebellion and terrorism. It sends a daily message to the wider society: we are in charge here. Once again, I warn Barbadians, these terrorists among us are not just criminals. They are strategically looking to take over. Their power grows with each shooting, each young recruit, and each day we delay action. I still wish that back when I sounded the alarm, more people in high places had listened, truly listened. I wish more had acted with the urgency and the seriousness that the situation required. If they had, maybe, just maybe, Barbados would not have had to bury so many of its sons and daughters. It is not too late to fight back. But first, we must recognize the truth. The gangs are not just a nuisance. They are a growing threat to our national security, our youth, and the future of our country. I don't think I could have said it any better. And I believe that there is a need for our governance to take this very, very seriously. I listened today to some of the reports coming from the police and from the Attorney General. And all I could think to myself is more talk, more talk, more talk. We need less talk and more action. There needs to be a response to what we are witnessing in our country. Otherwise, we are going to find our country taken over, as this individual has indicated, where it becomes very difficult for the normal individual, the ordinary individual on the street, the ordinary who's just going about their daily business and minding their business. Then you can find those things happening. All right. Now, I understand that you're getting a bit of a stall. Not a lot I can do about that at the moment because I have a virtual background, and as a result of that, I have a green screen behind me. So even if I cut the virtual, it's going to go to the green screen. I don't like the green screen, so I'm just going to try to work with what we have here. All right. So bear with me. I trust it won't be too distracting for you during the night. Now, I also want to say, we have been addressing the matter of the Afro-Exim Bank for some time now. I was a part of that march on Saturday, and it was a joy to hear the ordinary individual expressing their concerns. And I've learned quite a bit about the area, about the particular spot of property and its history. And it is quite interesting, really, and it would be interesting to hear what is the position. I understand it was sold, I think, in 1839 it was, or 1840 some, to the government for 20-something £100 back then. Of course, that would have been a lot of money. Today, the challenge we have, contrary to popular belief, which I had seen expressed in the media, was that we are anti-investment. There is not any march that we have engaged that is anti-investment. We are anti-non-transparency, and we are anti-not accountability. That is what we are. We are requiring answers, and we don't want to hear about it after you have signed the dotted line. Please, this country belongs to the people. Governments will come and go. Parties will rise and fall. Prime ministers will come and go. But the people of this country will remain. And as a result of that, the property, the assets of Barbados are vested in the hands of the citizens of this country. And a government is simply a caretaker of those assets. And if you do not care for our assets properly, we will take the appropriate action to try someone else to look after our assets. And it's very important for you to get that message. You are currently elected in a minority position. My understanding was that the last election during COVID, in which over 15,000 people were prohibited from voting as a result of being quarantined, it was said to me on the basis of the numbers I observed that it is a minority government. That means in the next general election, unless the World Health Organization creates another pandemic, or the World Economic Forum creates an internet virus and tries to shut the internet down to reset it or whatever, some insanity I've heard in recent days. Unless something of that nature happens, then we will be here looking after our property, the island of Barbados, and you will be gone. And I can assure you, as I have said over and over on this program, the Titanic was not sunk by the 1/10th of the iceberg the captain saw. It was sunk by the 9/10ths he did not know about, he did not see. So don't be fooled because you see what you might consider a handful of people. And I must say that the Barbados today, and I'm going to call them by name, the Barbados today is a very disingenuous media to suggest a handful of people turned out for the march we had Saturday before last on the behalf of the young man that was killed in Silver Hill. And I was in that march, and when I looked back and saw the line, scores and scores of people, not no handful, scores of people turned up and marched with us and arrived at that netball court and stayed right through until the end. So please, media reporters, get your facts straight. And it would be good if we could get some investigative journalists who are not afraid to deal investigatively. I like creating words, I like that one, into matters with governance in this country. I have heard a lot of things, and I can't say certain things here because we don't want Marcia's show to be threatened. And I don't like to talk about things that I haven't researched, that I don't have the evidence, and I don't have the proof to present. But I've heard a number of things that I am hoping, I think it was hoping against hope, that what I'm hearing is not true. When I hear certain elements within a governmental perspective are part of the whole investment aspect and investment and returns aspect of all from St. Anne's Fort all the way down Bay Street, all the way down through there by the same Afri-Exim Bank, all the way down Bay Street by Liquidation Center, all down to the Pier Head, all around by the boardwalk, all the way down Hing Street, all the way down to the port. I sincerely hope that is not true. This is where I wish that we had a Doge in Barbados. That is the honest to God truth, where we could investigate aggressively. And I am going to really speak to the leader of the opposition, and in the event he becomes the next prime minister, that we investigate every single one of these matters, establish an independent grouping of people who will go after this and investigate it, to whom all evidence must be presented. And I would want to suggest that the accountant general, if that's what he is, be on that committee as well. That's just my take on the matter. That's how I feel about it. But I feel the time has come when politicians in Barbados need to be held to account. Their feet need to be held to the fire in terms of what they are engaging. Now, touching quickly on this matter, I mentioned one word that caught my attention in the discourse I just read. That is the word lawlessness. And I must tell you that as I drive the roads in Barbados, I can see to some degree why our young people are lawless, or as lawless as they are. 6:30, 6:23 in the evening, I am meeting cars on the street that I can hardly see without a single light, when the law tells us that headlights and park lights should be turned on at 6 o'clock in the evening. Lawless conduct by people who drive on the streets. You know who you are. Reckless, I call it lawless unmannerliness from people who don't know how to dip their lights at night, especially when you consider the type of lights that modern day vehicles carry. They're LED or laser. They're very bright in some of the more upmarket, and now making its way into some of the younger, lower models, are very direct headlight systems that tend to be less blinding to you. But lights are changed, and I discovered that one of the groupings that is most guilty of it are those minibus operators. Because most of the time when I meet a vehicle and I can't see at night, it's a minibus. And these are all lawless aspects. People turning off the street without an indicator as if you are supposed to know what they're going to do. These might seem to you to be little things, but our young people and our children are watching us and they're patterning themselves after what they see. And very quickly, the person that sent that article to me spoke about the anger in an audio clip he sent to me. He spoke about the anger in young people. And I remember many years ago, I mentioned it here. A young man took my computer off my desk in Detco Motors at the time on Bay Street, and I discovered what school he was from. Discovered they had a sports meeting at the National Stadium, and I went over there to encounter him with the police. And as I stood a little out of the line of vision, as I stood there watching the young people come in through the gates of the National Stadium, all I could see on their faces was anger. And these were primary school children, angry. And I wondered to myself, when they go into secondary school, what is going to happen? And when they leave secondary school, and some go to tertiary, some don't go anywhere. Some may go to BCC, some may go to the block. Anger. And there is a reason, my friends, for that. If you are here on this show tonight and you are a parent, you need to do some serious parenting of your children. The first authorities that children encounter are parents. Those are the first authorities. The Jesuits have a saying I've repeated on this program many times. Give us a child for the first 7 years, and we will show you the man. That means in the first 7 years of a child's life, their foundation is established and fixed. They become the man and woman that we are seeing today. So parenting is extremely important. How you guide them, how you lead them, the examples that you show them, not talk to them, you show them, is very important at this point in time. Well, that's my few minutes that I am supposed to have, and I want to engage our very first guests that are coming on with us. And we always look forward to all of our guests, always sharing such critically important information. And we learn so much. So we want to welcome our first guest. This is Jean Chasey. Good evening, Jean, and a
Good
pleasure to
evening.
have you. I haven't seen you in a very, very long time. Too
That's
long.
true. That is very true. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure.
And it's a wonderful pleasure of mine to have the opportunity to be hosting the show that you're actually on. And, we have shared a number of things together, especially, I think, between 2018 and 2022. I'm not going to
Yes.
say any more about that. Okay.
Yes, yes,
But a
yes.
pleasure to have you on the show. I understand you're going to be sharing some vital information for us tonight. Looking very quickly at my schedule here, this will be concerning an upcoming event, I believe.
Yes,
I
please.
hope it's the event that I'm thinking about, but I'm going
Mhm.
to leave you to lead us with that. So, welcome to the loyal opposition and to the Marcy Week Show.
Okay, thank you again. It's really a pleasure to be here. I'm very thankful for the opportunity to be able to hear my concerns and what I believe to be the concerns of not just myself, but those of the church, those of persons who love the Lord with all their heart, those even of those persons who have grown up in or around church and has always felt as if I still have this pulling towards the church. I may not be doing everything I should be doing, but I still have that pulling towards the church. I am here to really speak on behalf of all those persons. We sometimes say that Barbados is a Christian nation. We're really just saying that the dominant religion in Barbados is Christianity, not that every person is Christian. But I believe that when you have a dominant religion, there is a responsibility to respect the people who hold to that specific religion. I started a petition because I was made aware that there is a concert to be held on Easter Sunday. And the concert is going to be featuring persons who have shown no respect for God or the Bible. In fact, what I would want to do right now is to just read what the petition says so that you will have an idea as to what we are saying and what our concern is. It says, the issue is, as deeply concerned Christians and citizens of Barbados, we've noticed a distressing increase in violence and disrespectful behavior in our society, particularly among younger generations. Our young people are no longer upholding the values we hold dear, turning towards inappropriate activities and following bad examples. The root of this problem, we firmly believe, is our steady drift away from God. This emerging societal pattern is symbolized by a planned concert this Easter Sunday, which is a sacred day in the Christian church. The concert lineup includes artists who self-identify with disconcerting satanic pseudonyms such as Demon and Lord Lucy. Many of these individuals have previous engagements with criminal activities. Their conduct is not only alarming, but also a blatant disregard for Christian beliefs, the church, and the sanctity of Easter Sunday. Barbados is a country known for its commitment to promoting peace and upholding social values. However, statistics have shown a concerning rise in violent crime. As stated by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, in 2017, Barbados had a homicide rate of 9.1 for every 100,000 in population. In 2024, the rate had increased to 18.1, that's almost a doubling per 100,000 population. Such figures indicate an urgent need to curb this increasing violence trend. Allowing the planned concert to proceed is not only disrespectful to our church and its devotees, but it also stands to further encourage the negative behaviors rampant among our youth. It's time we take a stand against the erosion of our values and reclaim the reverence of our sacred observances. Let There Be Light movement implores you to join this plea to cancel the concert planned for Easter Sunday and to support actions that promote positive values in our society. And here we encourage you to put your signature to support this petition. Now, I feel very strongly about this. We've been having so many homicides in this country, so much violence going on in this country. And I believe this is a spiritual problem. And I believe that unless we take a stand and say enough is enough, we will not allow you to hold concerts like this on what we consider to be sacred days, then we in Barbados are up for an even ruder awakening. So I'm really calling on Barbadians to stand together and say, we do not want this, to make it absolutely clear where we stand. I would want to read something else if you would permit me. This is taken from the Bible. It's taken from Ezekiel chapter 33, and I want to read from verse 1. It says, the word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, speak to your people and say to them, when I bring the sword against a land, and the people of the land choose one of their men and make him their watchman, and he sees the sword coming against the land and blows the trumpet to warn the people, then if anyone hears the trumpet but does not heed the warning, and the sword comes and takes their life, their blood will be on their own head. Since they heard the sound of the trumpet but did not heed the warning, their blood will be on their own head. If they had heeded the warning, they would have saved themselves. But if the watchman sees the sword coming and does not blow the trumpet to warn the people, and the sword comes and takes someone's life, that person's life will be taken because of their sin. But this is God speaking to Ezekiel. He said, I will hold the watchman accountable for their blood. Son of man, I have made you a watchman for the people of Israel. So hear the word I speak and give them warning from me. I believe that we are the watchmen, and this is a warning. We are seeing the signs of something horrible happening in Barbados everywhere we turn. And this concert that is so anti-God, that is being planned to be held on Easter Sunday, one of the most sacred days in the Christian calendar, is a fly in the face of God. And I believe that we as the watchmen need to blow the trumpet and let everyone know this is not acceptable behavior. This is not something that we should entertain. So I am calling on whoever is in government, whoever is in a position to put a stop to this, to hear the trumpet and put a stop to this. There are many days in the year that they can have a concert. I find Christians are extremely tolerant. We don't insist on certain things. But I think that this is gross disrespect simply because of tolerance to allow something like this to happen in our country. And I would love for everyone here who is listening to sign this petition, to let those who are in charge know that we as Barbadians do not consider this to be an acceptable thing to happen on Easter Sunday.
Well, Jean, especially when you hear the Prime Minister making an appeal to the church, because that was a very specific appeal, and she mentioned the church specifically for assistance within the context of all that is happening in the country, the crime, the violence, all the instability, if you want to call it that, and to my mind, and to some degree, I would want to suggest that means that at least the Prime Minister has an inkling of spiritual understanding. Because when you engage the church, you're dealing with a spiritual component. Not that the church does not address realities, the feeding of the poor and all these different kinds of things. But the church has always engaged primarily its spiritual responsibility, especially in the realm of demonic activity and spiritual warfare. And so I would want to assume, given her the benefit of the doubt, that if you're going to engage the church, I don't even think the request that you're making should have had to have been said.
Correct. I would want to agree with you 100%. This is not even something that we as the people of Barbados should have to say. From the time that the request was made to say, I want to hold such a concert on Easter Sunday, it should have been said, or that's not going to be seen as something that we would want done here in Barbados. You need to choose another day if you want to come. And as I say, we are being so tolerant, because we're not saying you can't sing your songs or do what you want to do. But I'm saying you have to respect God. And it is time for the Prime Minister, it's the time for persons to realize tolerance does not mean that we will accept anything that you do. There's a line in the sand, and God is God. There's only one God, and we cannot disrespect him. We played the national anthem earlier. In that anthem, it says, the Lord has been the people's guide for past 300 years. With him still on the people's side, we have no doubts or fears. It is God that we are depending on. And when we lose sight of that and start to think that it is our own strength and that we can do everything by ourselves because we're so bright and we're so, we know so much, that is the beginning of the downfall. And if we really want to see things change here in Barbados, we need to turn back to God. And this concert is a complete turn away from God. This is the complete opposite to what we need to be doing. This is in the face of all the horror we are seeing. This is like saying, okay, you think we have disrespected your belief systems enough? Let's go and do something more. We've had people call for prayer for as you mentioned, for the church to do something. But how are we calling on the church to do something? And then we are totally disrespecting the things that the church would want to do. Because what the church would want to do is to have persons respect the days that we hold sacred. So if we're asking the church to do something, we need.
And I mean, on a day such as what we are addressing, I mean, this is the holiest. I would dare say even holier than Christmas. And let me take a pause to just welcome Pastor Sean Carter. Sean, welcome. Great to have you on the show, sir. I haven't seen you two for a little while. Good to see you. You haven't changed one iota. I hope you can say the same thing. I hope you can say the same thing about me.
Yes, definitely.
But welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know you're also on to address this matter, but I just want to say quickly before you begin, Jean, they don't try this with the Muslims. You know why? Because the Muslims will blow up somewhere for you. They will bomb somewhere for you or something of that sort. But you see, we are nice people. Christians are all about love. We're all about love. So that's how it is. Sean, I know you're a little late coming on, but let you go right ahead. All right. And as you're doing that, let me ask all of you, please. You don't need to be church going. You don't need to be a Christian. You just need to be a Bajan. Proud Bajan. And there's certain standards we have. And we are asking you, please sign this petition. We put the link in the chat. I'm going to drop it in again for those of you who may have come, and I know how the chat flies up in YouTube. So we'll drop it in again that you can see it. All right. So please, and don't be deceived by this. Isn't just to show no more violence, no more victims. That is a joke. Anyhow, Sean, let me let you in, my friend. God bless you. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Thanks. It's good to be here. Very, very serious matter, very concerning matter. As was said, I think Jean has wonderfully hit the nail on the head with that scripture from Ezekiel. The word of the Lord comes to the prophet, and he says, if you deliver this word to the nation and they don't receive it, then their blood will be upon their shoulders. But if I give you this word and you don't deliver it to the nation, then their blood will be on your shoulders. Very wonderful scripture. But as somebody was saying in the comments there, the scripture tells us that, firstly, let me say this: we are spiritual people, right? We are spirits in a body with a soul, and we live in a spiritual world. There's nothing that happens in this realm unless it happens firstly in the spirit realm. Let me say that firstly. The scripture tells us that we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but we wrestle against principalities, and powers and rulers of darkness of this age. What I call divine intelligence. There's a network of spiritual darkness that feeds information to individuals, whether those individuals are entertainers, whether those individuals are world leaders, but there's a demonic intelligence that is fed to them. So whether you like the church or you don't like the church, the truth is that the church holds the solution to the problem, solution to the problems
That's right.
we are facing. So when you see problems in the nation, whether it's economic, whether it's violence, and the church is pointing the finger at the government, really and truly we should be pointing the finger at ourselves. Second Chronicles 7:14 says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and seek my face and pray and turn from their wicked ways, then I will heal the land. So that says to me directly that the responsibility of the condition of the land, of the healing of the land, is in the lap of the church, is in the hand of the church. So a couple of weeks ago when the Prime Minister, as you alluded to, Pastor Ferdy, the Prime Minister was calling on the church for help. To me, that's hypocrisy. How can you be allowing this show to happen and at the same time calling on the church for help? When, as Jean said, this is blatant disrespect to our Lord, to our King. And as you said, Pastor Ferdy, this will never happen in a Muslim state. It will never happen in
That's right. That's right. We've seen that in the UK. We've seen that in the UK. We've seen it in other Muslim countries. We've seen it in the US. This is a fact. We've seen we've seen matters in the UK escalate as a result, even in Parliament as a result. But you attack a Christian aspect, and everybody's quiet.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about it is the Lord has given us power and authority over all the power of the enemy. But it's sometimes Christians are like children with a like a child with a gun, a real gun in its hand. He thinks it's a toy. He doesn't know how to use it. But if he points at anybody, they're scampering and they're running because we have loaded guns, but we don't know how to use them. So the scripture tells us that death and life is in the power of the tongue. The scripture tells us that whatsoever we shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatsoever we allow on earth is that which has already been allowed on earth. That whatsoever we shall bind on earth is that which has already been bound in heaven. What does that mean? It means that we collectively as the church, and I would dare say the leaders of the church, the watchmen, as Jean said, the keepers, when we make the decree and we make the declaration, access denied, right? This show will not happen. It will not come to pass. You know what that does, Pastor Ferdy? It sets up a Mount Carmel again, where the God of heaven right?
Amen.
If people, not only the church, but many people think that this show cannot be stopped. So this show is a giant. So if this show is a giant, then it means that the church is David, and this giant will be slain. And that is the name of Jesus. And that is the declaration, because we have been given apostolic authority. Whether you understand the term or you don't understand the term, whether you like the term or you don't like the term, we have been given apostolic authority in the realm of the spirit, and we need to exercise that authority. To the degree that we don't exercise that authority is to the degree that the enemy and the antichrist spirit, or people that are filled with the antichrist spirit, they will continue to do as they like. So the church cannot keep silent. Church cannot keep silent on the matter. The declaration from the church is access denied. The show will not happen. People are saying to me that the Prime Minister cannot stop the show. How is it that Stephen Lashley under another administration was able to stop the individual from coming into the island? And you are saying to me the Prime Minister of Barbados at this time cannot stop this show? That's a joke.
But Sean, Pastor Sean, don't they have to get police permission?
Yes.
Don't they have to get police permission to hold a public event of this nature? Isn't that required?
So exactly. So Pastor Freddie, you and I both know from the many marches that we've been involved in, that even to have a march, we had to get police permission.
Yes.
We can't do anything until we get police permission. So obviously they need to get police permission for this show. But
certainly the attorney, I know we talk about the separation of powers, I get it, but still, certainly the Attorney General should be able to have some influence on the Commissioner of Police. Certainly, the Prime Minister should be able to have some influence on the Commissioner of Police. You know, that's what I feel. That's what I think. They should be able to speak to them on a lot of other things.
Exactly. I would want to add as well too, just standing up as the church and saying boldly, this is wrong, is already a victory. Someone made a comment that the church has been silent, and that day is gone. There's no more silence now from the church. We intend to speak out because we need to let there be light in this country. Darkness has been taking over Barbados. And the only reason darkness can prevail is because light is not shining in this country. Exactly. And the light exists in us. As Sean spoke to the power of the tongue and the power that we carry in us as Christians. If we let our light shine, if we are the good examples, if when we see something going wrong, we say something and don't bury our heads in the sand, we will see that young people will respect the church again. They will respect Christians again because they will say they stand for something.
Yes,
even if it doesn't work in their interests. Even if somebody is going to say, oh, I'm not going to give her any more jobs because she has stood up. I don't mind because I serve God and I answer to him alone. So I will speak what is true. And that is what light is about. Light is about revealing when something is wrong, not being favorites to say, oh, I like B or I like D or I like A or whoever, but just saying this is right and this is wrong. And this concert is wrong. There is no two ways about it. It is wrong. And we need to all stand together and say that in unison, all across Christianity, all across Barbados. This petition should have so many signatures that change.org cannot even handle it. Everybody in Barbados that is looking around and saying something wrong with our country, things are not going the way they used to be. You can't, far from leaving your door open now, you have to be careful that before you unlock your door, you look through the little peephole to make sure no one is out there waiting on you. So this is a complete change from where we were as a country. And we're not talking about going back. We're talking about going forward to something better.
Yeah. Well, you know, Jean, the thing about it, you say that it's not a partisan matter. It's not a political matter, and just let me say to the audience, we talk about the church, but I want to be clear. I want to clear up a misconception. When we talk about the church, we are not talking about Anglicans, Catholics, Methodists, Moravians. We are not talking about St. George Parish Church or New Dimension or People's Cathedral. We're talking about the people who know Christ, the people whose lives have been surrendered to the Lord. And I understand the responsibility of leadership, but it is every single one of our responsibility. Not just the leader. If the leaders don't do anything, it does not negate the fact that we are required by our God to do something about it. And I am going to say, if I was a parent, my child could not leave home to go to that concert. That is a responsibility a parent has to take up. And we had to learn, of course, we know that, as you age and you get to certain positions, you have to ease that restrictional aspect, and children come to a point where they make their own decisions, and that's fine. I had on occasions to say my front door is revolving. If you want to be in my home, you go by my rules. Otherwise, the front door is there, but it's revolving, which means you can always come back in. But I set the rules in my home and as to what was going to happen. And if you couldn't live with those rules, well, you know, you had the option any other child when they reach that age has. So I want to say to the people, this is not, I appreciate what you're saying about the church leaders. And I don't mean you, Sean and Jean. I'm looking at the chat, and I'm appreciating what you're saying about church leaders, but it's not just a church leader's matter. It's your matter. It's my matter. We have to get actively involved and engage our government and our governance, the way things are done in our country. Sign the petition. Share the petition on your Facebook page or whatever social media platforms you're on. Share it, share it, share it. Get your family to sign it. Get involved, because this, if you say you're a Christian, then it's about you, and it's not just your leaders. Right, Sean? Isn't that correct?
Absolutely correct. It's a societal issue that we're dealing with. I listened to your preamble tonight and how you were speaking about the parents. There's no one single thing that is causing the problem that we are seeing. There's one single solution, and that solution is Jesus. Jesus is the answer for everything.
And we got, yes, absolutely.
So the church has a pivotal role to play in it, and like you said, not the leaders, but the church. You know, whoever is called by his name, whoever is filled with his spirit, you have a role to play. So even apart from just signing the petition, we need to, and this is for everybody now, not just the church. If you don't like the moral decline that you are seeing, this is how I will put it, if you are happy with the news that we heard 2 weeks ago of the shooting death of Jonathan Chase, then do nothing. If you are not happy about that, if you are enraged about it, right? If it was devastating to you, then you need to write to your MP. You need to write to the Minister of Culture. You need to write to the Prime Minister. You need to write to the editor in the newspaper. You need to call the calling programs. It's a societal issue. So when society does nothing and say nothing, and if the church did nothing and say nothing, then we will be just as guilty as the Prime Minister of being hypocrites. Then because the church will be compromising and not taking a stand. There's so many scriptures that say stand. Right? Even the scripture in Ephesians 6 on warfare, having done all stand, you stand with the full armor. So it doesn't matter what people say, what people think. If people try to victimize you, our trust is not in man, our trust is in God. God is our source. Our jobs is not our source. And what it does is causing for a level of maturity for Christians and for the nations. So as a nation, as a people, we are far too passive. You know why? Because there's a spirit over the nation that needs breaking.
That's correct. It needs to be broken. It needs to be broken, Sean.
In the name of Jesus, we breaking it.
And you know, one of the references to the church, and when I say the church, again, I talk about the people, is to do with us being salt. And you know, when I think of salt, I think of all the grains. You know, when you salt meat, all those grains go into every nook and cranny, every crevice of the meat, you know, and affects it. And so if we can affect people in our office, we can talk to them in our office, talk to them on the street, talk to them in the supermarket. You know, it's amazing, you know, when you begin to engage people, how many people are not happy with this? A lot of people. Very so I want to encourage all of us, you know, we are salt, and if you're not a Christian, you're not a member of the church, you're still salt because you're a Barbadian and you're salt in Barbados. You know, I listen to the national anthem, strict guardians of our heritage, firm craftsmen of our faith. And it is incumbent on every single one of us, not just the bishop of the Anglican church or the Methodist church or the Nazarene or the Pentecostal or whatever. You. And I want I don't know if I can get my finger, my camera. You know, it's incumbent on every one of us to take a stand.
Correct.
You know, and what is the song I used to do years ago? If you don't stand up for something, you'll fall for anything.
Exactly.
You know, so there comes a point in time where, as a country, to recoup our nation from the slippery slope it is on. The decline in morals. I saw someone mention in the chat about the morals that they observe, the moral conduct they observe in Parliament during the budget, and the debates. You know, when young people sit down and watch that, if they watch it at all, I don't think many of them pay any attention to it because they don't believe nothing that is said in Parliament. They don't accept nothing there. But if they observe it and they see how we treat one another and treat to one another, then we want to tell them how to handle conflict. It's a hypocritical move, you know. So
Yeah.
I tell you. Well, listen, guys, I want to thank you so very much for coming on tonight. I wish we could spend more time engaging all of these kind of things, because there are issues that our people in the country are concerned about, and they have every right to be. Because morality, you know, we used to think morality has to do with sexuality. No, morality is what is right and what is wrong. That is what it is, okay? And for people to look at me and tell me that government can't legislate morality is nonsense. Because if I walk into a supermarket, pick up food and walk back out, that is theft. And to steal is immoral. The law says I cannot steal. If I steal, I will be prosecuted and put in jail, or a fine will be affixed. Try driving through a red light, or going up the highway at 110 kilometers instead of 80, and you will find out how legislative morals can be. Okay, so please. Well, thank you guys. Sean, Jean, so good to see you again. I don't know what will happen. I don't know what will happen.
I'm sure you'll see and hear more of me, because we intend to make sure that the church has a voice. It's time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Sean, of course, I know you are one of those inspiring Calypsonians, and I'm sure we'll hear something from you this year that will remind us of all of this. So thank you so very much.
Thank you as well.
We're going to be moving into the next session. Yes, bless you too. Thank you for being here, Jean. Great to see you again.
Yes,
bless you. God bless. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to be moving into the next segment here, and this is Mike on the Move. Now, I will tell you, this next this Mike on the Move you're going to be seeing is a young lady by the name of Delores, and she is a Barbadian senior who prays for this country and never misses a march. And she went viral after the whole tongue march. So let's see what she has to say tonight.
Against the Satan, God forbid it. In the name of Jesus Christ, no. No. This is the straw that break the camel's back. This here is the straw that brought the camel back. Hallelujah. Oh yeah? Tell Canada to don't touch it. And you think you can put Barbados with a platter against the Satan? God forbid it. In the name of Jesus Christ, no. No. This is the straw that break the camel's back. This here is the straw that brought the camel back. Hallelujah. Oh yeah? Tell Canada to don't touch it.
That's a straightforward statement. Tell Canada, don't touch it. Don't touch it. I think we have another clip with her as well. She was on the show. She was on the march on Saturday, and an amazing woman, bold as you will ever find. And I really must say, very inspiring, very, very inspiring. Let's get that other clip then, Dave. I don't know if that's the one from Saturday.
You know, I guess he probably did this bus stop, but it's very nice. And look who is there. Who is that lady there? Who is that lady there with that cross? Who is that lady there? Good morning, preacher. Grandma. They call you the grandma preacher.
Good morning.
Good morning, grandma preacher. And you got that cross there. You got a cross right there. And then you got a cross, another cross behind here. You see that? 3 crosses, and there's a cross in the thing. So why do you have 3 crosses?
This one is towards the heart.
This one what?
It's towards the heart.
Stores the heart.
Right.
Uh-huh.
This one is towards the head.
It's the one on the head stores the head.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. And the one on the back
Mhm.
is to make sure that is where I am protected, because I don't have eyes behind my back.
Ah, so you're
But the
protected.
Lord has my back.
Yes, yes. Wow. And you need to see her skin in real life. Her skin is so beautiful. Beautiful skin. What listen, I know you're ready to preach and everything, but can we get vain a little bit? What you put on your skin?
Olive oil.
Olive oil.
Mm.
So you anoint yourself with olive oil.
That's
I
all.
tell
From
you,
my head to my toe.
from your head to your toe.
I don't buy no cream. They have too much chemicals. I don't buy no lotion. Too much chemicals. And you know what? Baking soda for the arm.
Mm. Oh, so you don't use regular you use you don't use regular deodorant, you use baking soda. Wow, I've heard people talk about, and it actually works because she smell good.
Because you see, I see my mother come along, I see my mother doing it.
Yes.
So there's some things where the parents just in the end here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just copy.
Children copy the parents.
Yes, yes. But let me tell you, I mean, your skin is flawless. I tell you guys.
It's because of Jesus.
Jesus and the olive oil.
The olive oil.
So you did a video. Well, you didn't. You were preaching, and somebody captured you preaching, and then it went viral, went all over. Tell me about that.
Because I wanted to let it be a record.
Yes.
To record on TikTok, because everything worked together for good.
Yes.
And God, the person picked up the whole message,
Mm-hmm.
but God allowed him to put out that particular one.
Mm-hmm.
The name of Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Still powerful.
Yes.
Not as a swear word.
Uh-huh.
So it going out to show the people that Jesus Christ is still in control. He will never lose his power.
Yes, yes, yes. Now you are sitting here and you're looking across, and when you look across, that is the building that was given as a free of cost to the Afrexim Bank. And as a woman of God, you're looking across at that. What do you want to say to Barbados about that?
That it reminds me of the walls of Jericho came down.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care what the devil set up. What God don't approve of, he can pull down. He pull down what he build up. And the walls where it's easy. The walls of Jericho where the march around. And those walls were sick.
Yes.
A woman could build a house, and they said, well, 4 chariots could run up. And God brought it down. And there's nothing that the PM set up that God cannot pull down. And God, I am telling you that God is going to show her who is boss. No problem. Go ahead and do. Because it's in the word. Many kings came up and they did evil in the sight.
Yes.
It didn't say in the sight of man, in the sight of God. Because God is watching. He knows what he said about Barbados. And it will come to pass what God said. So I want the PM to know that she cannot fight God and win. I talk about Sunday school. Yeah, she must have been in Sunday school that you used to have down Brandon by Pyle on Sundays. People used to go, I go to Sunday school. I got you to his church Sunday school. His Sunday school party and just like Q and community. He said, so you think she could fool somebody? He said people that pray, she ain't no prayer, fasting her out. And you cannot live back their confidence. Too bad for you. Take that, PM.
So you're saying the police, the PM saying that she wants people to go back to Sunday school. You don't believe that she's serious?
No. She gotta be born again. She gotta be born. You gotta be born again. And I ain't too glad if you get saved, because they're gonna rip you the one. You gonna bear some of the persecution that we getting, the church getting.
But anytime, just like Saul was a man that was bitter against God and was persecuting the church. And from the time he got saved, he had to run back to the church that he was persecuting to protect him. And Mary will look down for you, Lord. Come in and join me, and we're going to protect you, right? Because Ben is the helper, man. The police can't do it. And the natural man can't do it. But unless you abide in Jesus Christ, your protection is in Jesus. Hallelujah.
Yeah. And what do you think God is saying to Barbados at this time?
That he just wants them to repent. If they repent and get back to him, because he have chosen. If you check and see Barbados out there by itself, and God chose Barbados ever since not now. And because the devil know that God chose Barbados, he want to run in and take it over. It can't work. And when we by slavery, the Old Testament, God put them in the hand of the enemy. And when the enemy squeezed them, then they run back to God, and God raised up a deliverer. And I will say that mercy is Moses and thorn is Joshua. Hallelujah. So that's it.
That's it. So do you know that the old geriatric hospital, I'm hoping to go there today. I hope you can show it to me, because I'm not sure where it is. And the Barbados and the government headquarters, they are now, those areas will be demolished.
Yeah, you hear about them.
Yeah, and
Up Christchurch.
yes.
Boy, we ain't making us work, boy. You wrote, and that's for your car. Remember God upon the throne. And when Solomon died, Solomon the backslid, and when he died, his son, the wise man, the prophet of God, told his son, listen to the people, because the young people was giving him advice, and he refused the advice of the prophet. And he said, my father chastised you with red, but I gonna chastise you with scorpions. And then God intervened and took away 10 and left back 2, because God had made a covenant. And when I see that rainbow, that is a covenant God made with Barbados. And God will never change his covenant, even if we try that. So if we cannot have Barbados. We are now, our eyes are opening and we painting now, and we're calling for the God to intervene. He had to allow it to be so. God has got to get me and put the enemy to squeeze.
But I mean, you're saying she can't have Barbados, but we're being told everything is already sold.
Yeah, no problem. What is impossible with man is possible with God. If God, he promised judgment for me, and if God got to pull down that, you see what happened in Myanmar with all them tall buildings, the earthquake. He is God. And I saw some buildings way up in the sky, and they come down like a piece of paper. So the devil think he is at all. If God want to take them down, he's gone and build back up. Because the 10 Moses was, you got me some best, and you would take off them there, and you're a fresh set of people. He's God, and if God should put it up, and God want to take it down, God can take it down. He's God. You understand? I serve a God that he said nothing is impossible with him. Now, with Barbados, just a little puff, a little wind, and God shake Barbados. We ain't saying nothing. God shake Barbados, he will put down only what she set up, and watch God building up what he wants. He's God. So I'm here go along, Gary, do what I want to do. God, you take that God forever, you know. Hallelujah. But we got to know who our God is. And God has showed them what the judgment of God in the land, and when he put down some buildings. And about they're running and scrapping now. It's all up in the air. They thought nobody can touch them.
Yeah, but this one over here, that is going to be 12. There are 2 12-story towers that's going to be here.
I will say, Lord, have your way. And besides, if I left them and they all let me so I get a little room to sleep. But
yeah, it might be for the regular people to live in. Why not? Why not?
He is God. He is God.
That's
and he
true.
said nothing is impossible with him. It may be impossible with man. I must speak those words casual, but I don't know if they are settled in heaven and it will come to pass. So what is man? A little puff of me. King set up and king pull down. He is God. And that is the problem. We do not establish God as who he is. We want to put man where God is. It cannot work. God set up and God pull down. I read it. Who do we think we are? Like a flower. And then we got some big talk. If we motivate, God already put me there to lie down. They are suffering. And the Nebuchadnezzar, he didn't get the coffee he throwing. I had to go and live with the animals for 7 years till he recognized who God is. And when God gave back his human mind, he tell everybody, listen, worship our God, the creator of heaven and earth. And when you read the word of God, I don't care when man can tell the Bible, so you expect a cow to write it. Hallelujah. He is God. And I see him as God, and I will recognize him as the Lord God eternal. If you put my neck on the block, then a problem.
But you know, what's interesting about you is that you don't miss a march, even though you know you're a child of God and all of that. But you don't miss a march.
No.
Why is that?
Why is that? Because it ain't Marcy that put me there. It's God that put me there. And the Lord, I'm being interviewed. I'm being interviewed. I'm being interviewed. Yeah. So when God know he could put me at anything that can cause controversy, he know that I ain't moving. The only body can move me is the Lord. Marcy didn't send and call me. She didn't even know who I is. She just see me appear. And I said, Lord God, she curious, but you will let her know who I am. And God let you know who I am. I ain't come and tell you I am this and I am that. God know he could put me in anything that can cause controversy. As I hear you about that, you can't move me.
And you have been at all the marches.
Exactly, so all. And I just tell my praying people, listen, I'm going to march with Marcy, pray for me. And we have Marcy on our prayer list. She is being covered. Prayer. We don't know the power of prayer yet.
And we thank you for that. We thank you for that.
Exactly.
Well, let me tell you, this is the Preacher Granny from Barbados. That's the name they give her. The Preacher Granny. Let's look at the cross again. Let me tell you, my girl covered, covered in the back. She covered in the back, and her head is covered. And she even have a little silver cross up here.
And wherever I go, there's all of my yoke face, all
of them.
And then I just go, no casual. Is that me? If you go to church? Church what? I don't go to bodybuilding unless I go to prayer meeting.
And you wear these all the time?
Yeah, all of them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Preacher Granny. Thank you.
Well, I tell you what can I say? What can I say? I think Preacher Granny has said it all. I don't think I can add anything to what she has had to say. Trust me. And I will tell you that she outdoes a lot of other people because she is at every single march. And I mean every single march she is at. And some people tell you they're going to come, but they don't turn up. And people tell you, oh, I hear you, I'm supporting you, and all these different kinds of things, but then you don't see them at the march at all. So I'm going to tell you, Granny, I call her Granny, preacher. They call her Preacher Granny, but I call her Granny. And I think we have another mic on the move. Yeah, I think we have another mic on the move upcoming, but love her, absolutely love her. So go ahead, Dave.
Folks, so here we are, and this is the government headquarters of Barbados. And this is like what you would call 10 Downing Street. in the
At the
UK.
White House.
And believe it or not, the plan of this government is to sell this. In fact, we're not sure if this is probably already sold or given away. As someone said, either given away or put in a garage sale. But we want people to know that this is actually 4 acres. 4 acres of prime real estate. So this is it all along here. But look right in front of it. Yes, the buses are passing, but you'll be able to see the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sea there. The beach, beautiful beach over on this side here. Okay. And I think this is Browns Beach. Which beach is this one? Further down. But this is a beautiful beach. Okay. And I guess this is Bay Street. So we're on Bay Street. All right. And so this is the Bay Street Esplanade is down this side. And so I wanted you to see how prime this property is. So this property is going to be or has been sold or given away. We don't know yet because the government, we don't hear from them. We don't know what is happening. And so, yeah, so this entire government headquarters. Who sell their government headquarters? Well, this government headquarters is being sold or given away. It's actually 4 acres. And we were able to get the market value per acre. All right, and of this property here, but seriously, folks, this is really an amazing thing. Okay, so here we have the statue of Sir Grantley Adams, and he was a premier of Barbados, 1946 to 1958. Okay, and the prime minister of the West Indies, okay, 1958 to 1962. And it says here, Sir Hugh Springer says of him, he was ready at the time when the people needed a leader who would be both the symbol of their emancipation and their leader out of the wilderness to the promised land. They left no doubt about this. They called him Moses. It was his inspiration always that put heart into the rank and file, and the example of his devotion to the movement created the confidence that was necessary for success. And that Sir Hugh Springer said that about him. And this is a statue of Sir Grantley Adams, and this statue is erected here quite fittingly here at the government headquarters. That is right now going to actually either been sold or given away. This is 4 acres, right? 4 acres. And we are being told that it's about $700 per square foot. And we got that information from valuers, people who are professional. I know that this might be valued at a lower cost based on BRA, but the actual market value because of where it's located. Okay, where it's located, you see that? So that's what's in front of it, and it seems like based on the plans that we've seen, that this is going to be another high-rise hotel in Barbados, another high-rise. So this is a sign here. So this is what is housed in here. The government of Barbados, the Prime Minister's office, the Cabinet office, the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs. Okay, so all of that will be, this is going to be demolished. And that's what they're going to be putting high-rise here. Which, as usual, we don't know much about. We don't know actually if it's given away, or we don't know if it's put in a garage sale and sold for little or nothing. And that's what's happening. This government is selling off the entire all of the prime real estate is being sold. And so this one here is going. This is our number 10 Downing Street that is being has been given away or sold. Garage sale or giveaway. It's either a garage sale or a giveaway. We don't know. Yes?
Wow, wow. Now, as far as we know, remember the Afri-Exim Bank we now learned about in 2025. But I understand that that was in the works and in the making since 2022. And we now learned about it as the people of Barbados, our property, our national asset being disposed of as a gift. And Marcy is quite correct. We have no idea what is going to be the situation with government headquarters. That is a place that has significant history from years back, especially coming through the independence period of Barbados. All the prime minister's offices are there. Right now, I don't believe the prime minister's office is there. I don't believe that they operate from there anymore. I think they're now housed, they now operate from a couple of other locations. As far as I'm aware, I don't believe they're operating from there at the moment. But you know, we are disposing of national assets just like that. And the people of Barbados, which is now a republic, by the people, for the people, of the people, that's just rhetoric. That's all it is, just rhetoric. It doesn't mean anything. But anyhow, listen, what we want to say to you tonight, however, is to be very careful, because based on what's happening in Barbados at the moment, people are taking a lot of risks. We can see things happening around us. We hear all of this land being given away. We hear all of these projects being done. We see the cost of living skyrocketing. Now we're hearing, merchants just love to hear anything to do with duties and taxes and whatnot going up. And I'm not going to be getting into the tariff matters and whatnot, but you and well hear the words fall off the President of the United States' mouth before our merchants in the country are not warning us about the increase in prices and cost and whatnot. And I wonder if that's going to happen to what's in stock now, not what's coming, but what's in stock now. And people are facing some difficult times. And as a result of that, they're getting themselves involved in a number of scams or Ponzi schemes. And my understanding was that we just had another Ponzi scheme collapse here in Barbados. And I want to read with regards to this. It's coming from, well, don't let me, it's coming from the nation, I understand, I think. But it says this: Creative Alliance Caribbean, which had a similar business model to the ill-fated TKY Media Ponzi scheme, which crashed last November, followed a similar fate this week, crashing out and leaving hundreds of Barbadians in the dark. Folk, you're going to have to be very careful, very vigilant, and do your research. Don't just get involved in things and don't know about them. All right, do your research. According to sources, the scheme, which flew under the radar, here we are talking about under the radar, even when TKY's downfall was making headlines, continued to attract attention from unfazed Barbadians, some of whom were even victims of the TKY scheme. Well-known blockchain consultant Hallam Hope, who participated in Creative Alliance, told the Weekend Nation that the online system went dark on Tuesday, thereby blocking Barbadians from signing on. And that's coming from the Nation News Network, from Nation News Network. Now, listen, folks, I know we're facing some tough times in the country. That's a reality. That is a reality. We are experiencing significant increase in prices. And even though in instances when oil falls around the world, we don't see a transformation in terms of prices here in Barbados. Okay, these are the realities. And as a result of it, people are looking to make the fast buck. But let me say to you, please, don't get involved in these schemes. Do your research, just like how we did the research on Afri-Exim Bank and found out it was a private bank and not a development bank. And we came to you and we told you the truth. We are telling you now, be very careful that you don't get involved with these Ponzi schemes. Please, please, please. Okay, just be very vigilant. Do your research so that you can save yourself some pain and embarrassment when things like this happen. Okay, so please be very careful. Well, we're going to be moving into the next segment. And of course, as you know, here in Barbados, we're facing quite a challenge in terms of our law enforcement and in terms of our crime and these aspects. And we have, I believe, a former law enforcement officer, law enforcement individual with us. This is Abraham Millington. You are familiar with him. Abraham, welcome to the show yet again. Great to have you. And you're coming
Yes,
in from what part of the world again? Tell the people what part of the world are you coming in from?
just next door in Canada. There's not very far, just
Oh,
next
just
door.
next door, just up the road there. Really good to have you, and I understand you're going to be you're the dumplings from the diaspora. I understand is what they're referring to the
Correct.
aspect with you now. You're ex-police officer, and you're going to be sharing with us tonight on the hindrances to justice. I understand. Is that correct? Yeah, go ahead.
Something like that.
You're hearing me?
Is
We might be having some connection.
oh, I think my screen has more or less an overview of. Oh, I think it was me that stuck. I'm not sure if it was me. Can you see me or hear me?
Okay, okay. Yeah, I can see and hear you. I'm going
Oh,
to
great.
just switch off my camera for now.
Oh, okay. Right.
Just
So
to see if it
I'm
helps
just waiting
any.
to Dave. Oh, right. I'm just waiting Dave to give me the go ahead with the slides or. Can you? Okay. Well, here's a more or less a very synopsis of what's going on back home, and I'm going as far back to Dave. Could you go up a little? I think what year this was again? Was it 2014? Yeah, 2014. You can stop there. And this is the former chief of the drug squad, and let's hear what his deliberation was. He said that corrupt customs and police officers, as well as employees of courier services, could you expand there? Have identified have been identified as being a major headache in the fight against the illegal drug trade. Superintendent Grafton Phillips, who has been head of the police drug squad for the past 11 years, cited some bad eggs at both main ports of entry, especially the Grantley Adams International Airport. Among them were baggage handlers, whom he also accused of aiding and abetting traffickers. In terms of seeking to indirect some of these traffickers, most of our headaches involve key individuals working in key areas and assisting individuals in trafficking the drugs. He told the Sun yesterday. Phillips, who has been reassigned to the officer in charge of the Bridgetown Division from tomorrow, this was back then, said the information was gathered with the assistance of intelligence from international drug interdiction agencies, including the United States Drug Enforcement Agency. Now you may say, oh, this is old news, but as we are dealing with what we're dealing with now in Barbados, Barbados has to ask itself that since then, how has the country, since what, that's 2014, right, Dr. Ferdy? The rise in more or less gun activity and not able to talk about drugs because the drugs now going from trafficking, as you would say, into the hands of school, the students. Are you there, Dr. Freddie? Dr. Freddie, can you hear me?
Okay, you're hearing me now? You're hearing me now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was just out of the studio there so as to give the bandwidth, so that you didn't have some of the freezing and so on.
Did you
But
miss?
yes. Oh, I
Right.
heard
So
and saw
I'm
everything
saying
that you
that the
said and rolled up.
oh, okay. Seems that we're just getting some challenges. That's all. Could you go to this link if you can? Now, was there of persons involved in drugs and crime and stuff, and the reason I have to talk about it because it's not spoken of very often, and I don't want to call the certain position, but there's a position that does the work of crime science, and I prefer to call it that rather than call the actual name. And when I say what I have to say, the person can defy me otherwise. But I'm saying that the order of mediation where crime and prevention is concerned goes far beyond just the selling of books. But before I start any fights, let me continue. So Barbados nation, lengthy delays in the. Could you expand? Because I think it says something before that. Or put it across. Oh, it's probably, oh, that's it. They're saying that lengthy delays in the trials of accused drug traffickers are a major headache for police. This is again the same gentleman, Mexico, my father, I think it Metropolitan, whichever one it was, head of the Royal Barbados Police Forces Drugs Unit, Senior Superintendent Grafton Phillips, told the Daily Nation yesterday that in several cases, people charged in connection with large drugs seizures were eventually granted bail and went back to the illegal drug trafficking business. Go up again. Our investigations pinpoint a number of people who were previously held for drug possession and were back in the drug business again. That's one of our major problems in fighting the drug problem. The senior officer also expressed concern about the frequency of people being caught with drugs stashed in their stomachs. He said that because of the lack of adequate alert mechanisms at the island's ports of entry, lawmen were always on the lookout for swallowers. And the reason I'm saying this, you may say this is just, oh, we know that. But I think it is time that the country, based on the death of our last youth, I think the gentleman, like, is it Jonathan, that's his name?
Mm-hmm.
Chase? Right.
Jonathan,
And
you,
it's
you
not
mean
only
the young
because
man
of
that
him.
was
He is
shot?
just,
Yes.
yes, he got right. So, but he is one too much. That's what, so I think that this cry that I'm not sure if it was customs or if it was immigration. I'm not sure who it was. And for not knowing who it was, it could be anybody. But there was a noise, as we would have remembered, in the country at one point against the proper surveillance and whatever it be of things that, let's be plain, things that come through the ports of entry. And I think it is about time that the country, the same way how the country could march for the removal of lands without proper consultation of the people could, on thinking about these lives that are senseless lives that are taken, can say, you know what, we demand better security mechanisms at the ports of entry. Go to the other link for me, Dave, please.
Because of course, I mean, the weapons are getting in here somehow. The drugs are getting in here somehow. Obviously, they're affecting our young people. you know, and as a result of that, you know, that's a contributory factor. So how are they getting in? You know, they're only a limited number of points of entry into Barbados.
Somebody was saying the Starks, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it was the Starks. Somebody was saying it's the Starks that were bringing them in. I'm
They,
not sure.
I don't know. I don't know about that. Usually they bring babies, but
Could you come up a bit? Yeah. Uh, no, I think you were to go to the link itself. It's a video. And on this matter now, we're going to the RSS, and we're going to look on I should say a bigger picture as it relates to national security, and we will see, not we, the country will see the combination of both inland and on sea persons who are regional, who more or less look after or oversee the country. And somebody would say, "Wait, what does have to do with the show?" But I mean, people need to know who are the persons more or less behind the scenes. Okay, let's call a spade a spade. What if so much start drop-ins are coming into the country, and mothers are holding the belly, and people are hugging family members, whether it's sincere or as, because you know some people will say it's photo ops, and some people say it's sincere. Even if it's sincere, how much people do you have to sincerely hold to know who are the persons behind the scenes? Don't you think the average man down like Foot Lane or woman down Baxter's Road ought to know who are the people more or less looking after them, and ought to ensure that these weapons aren't coming into the country, as what we say, a bariffle of them, a bariffle. You know that one. How much is the bariffle?
yeah,
That Ferdy?
absolutely. Nuff, nuff.
No, yeah, so, right, bariffle, right. Could you go to the video?
Oh, there we have Bariffle. I haven't heard that for a long
and I have
time.
a bariffle. Man, no, but
Yes,
you see, we have to preserve. We don't also have to preserve our lands. We have to preserve our linguistical nuances, because that is what makes you
yes.
who you are. If you don't preserve those things. Oh, okay. Okay. What is the last link? It's a. Oh, it's number 3. Number 3. Go to number 3, please. Number 3, and then number 4 is the video. Sorry about that. Number 3 is another one. And
I've
the
got some
video,
interesting
the grand
observations
finale
from
is the
the.
video that. Go on.
No, I was saying that some interesting
You were saying that, Freddie?
observations that I was reading. Yeah, I was saying that there's some interesting observations I was reading, as you know, in terms of the security personnel expressing who these individuals are, who the persons are involved. They were quite specific.
Oh yeah, because the third number 3 I'm going to go on now is a big drug bust in the area of I think 1.3 million. Dave is going to pull that up now, and then number 4 is going to be the actual a Facebook video that was circulating here recently. I don't know. I don't know if Dave has a way of communicating there. Could you put that on the screen, the paper, please?
You didn't send it from a smartphone, did you?
Yeah. No. If you show me the paper I have for you, you will. Dave, can you show me the paper, please? Number 2, then come to number 3. This is why I'm talking about this link here. That link, and then number 4. And we're looking at 2011. And the reason I'm doing this is because people have to see and understand the connection between the Caribbean and how what monies you're dealing with, because the average person is going to say, oh, it's only little drugs and a little piece of thing, and thing, but they don't understand the wealth behind this whole thing. Now, there was a tip-off from local anti-narcotics agencies to their counterparts in Barbados about the suspicious movement of a boat led to a 1.3 billion US,
Wow.
1.3 billion, which is about $6.5 million in cocaine bus, in which 3 Ghanaians were charged. They are among 5 persons due to appear in court on the island today in relation to the drug fine. According to the Barbados Nation, the 5 men were charged by police on the island last week in connection with the cocaine discovery, which was made last Thursday during a sting operation undertaken by the drug squad. The cocaine reportedly arrived in the island by boat, and Starbuck News understands that the vessel had its origin here. The 5 men, Ghanaians, I don't have to name them out, along with Barbadian Michael Ford, 30, and Ryan Noel, 38, are to appear in the district magistrate court on the island this morning to answer, for the.
Looks like we've
And this
lost
only goes to
him.
show.
Okay.
Oh, Dave?
No, you
he's
go
still
ahead.
there.
You go ahead.
Right, I'm saying that people, I think that the average person in the community, besides persons in law enforcement or who pay interest, wouldn't really understand the amount of the economic gains behind the scene and how dangerous it is and how it's actually affecting not only Barbados but the Caribbean and the interconnection, and why looking at who guards us is a big of a deal. The last link is is it number 4 for the last come down to number 4. This one here, the right. And you're going to stop at timestamp 119. Okay, you can, right. Go from the very beginning, right? No volume allowed. Well, essentially, what you're going to see is the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Honorable Philip Pierre, he's assumed the chairmanship of the RSS Council of Ministers, and I wanted to start with the showing how he acknowledges the increase in illegal gun-related issues in the Caribbean, and recommended greater collaborative efforts needed by the RSS, which is the Regional Security Systems, to combat crime. And then it would have gone on to show. Dave, just let me know if you're getting this. You ready? Sorry, go on.
The Council of Ministers meeting concluded today with Prime Minister of St. Lucia, the Honorable Philip Pierre, assuming chairmanship of the Council from outgoing Chair, Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew. During his remarks, Mr. Pierre reaffirmed his unwavering commitment to advancing the security of our region, acknowledging the increase in gun-related crime affecting Caribbean nations and the well-being of citizens. He stressed that a unified regional approach under the RSS was necessary to disrupt the criminal networks responsible for arms trafficking.
As chair of the RSS Council of Ministers, I affirm my commitment to working with law enforcement agencies in member states to coordinate and intensify regional efforts to reduce this escalation in gun-related crimes. The RSS, more than ever, must be our tool for collective action. It is the most formidable security mechanism available to us. It was conceived decades ago out of necessity, and we must believe in it and strengthen its capacity to serve our expanding needs. If we continue to join forces, share intelligence.
Right, 119 is fine. I want you to go back, Dave, and stop the whole video at just 00, like a 3 seconds, 003 seconds.
and coordinate responses, we stand a real chance of turning the tide on this escalating violence.
The RSS chair points.
Are you there, Dave? Can you stop it at, can you stop it at the beginning at 003, just 3 seconds? Right there is fine. That's fine. 003 is fine. Now, Barbados needs to know who really is protecting them, not only from an internal but a regional standpoint. And in this video, you can see, I guess, Dave has the video. Dave has the photo there as big as it can be. The Attorney General of Barbados, Honorable Dale Marshall, and you have there the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Richard Boyce, and in the back, you can almost see him, Brigadier Carlos Lovell, Chief of Staff, and you also have former Commissioner of Police, Mr. Darwin Dottin, standing in the onset. And to mention this should not be any more or less secret affair. The people of Barbados need to know who are the persons more or less protecting them, not only in Barbados, but regional. And they do an excellent job, as we all know, that, they're highly trained persons and what's not. And where I'm going with this is, after knowing who is more or less at the helm, I think that they just need to do more lobbying when they see things that they would like to see. Sorry, or when they don't see things that they would like they're seeing in their country. And having point this out, I mentioned on the show last time about better pay and working conditions for the police officers. And I'm going on to say another side point, a more robust inter-organizational security screening for both land and sea oversight. Now, the reason I have a reason, I hate to say one word twice, but I could get away with it. The reason I can say that, having identified what the chief of the drug squad identified earlier in my opening, because the way that I do presentations, it may seem simple, but it has an open, a middle, and a close. And that was what year? Remember the year it was, Dr. Ferdy?
I am not.
It was 2014. That was 2014. So
Okay.
since 2014, Barbados has witnessed the evolution of I should say a maturation of the intensifying of organized crime, because the rate that it is right now, it was not, let's say, even in 2014. So you have to ask what is not happening that is allowing such increases to happen, even though we have extremely highly trained persons at the helm. Better or more definitive macro government and governance strategies and policies are, over the crime management. And the reason I'm saying this, not that I'm trying to lobby one person over the other, but I have to give the leader of opposition some stripes when he was speaking to a need for a more definitive policy making of the government as it relates to the crime fight, because you can't have any doubts about conflict of interest associations with governmental officials and equivalent elements. This in itself is a you were saying something, Dr. Ferdy?
No, I was agreeing with you.
Right, because when you look at what is going on, how I opened with the confession, and not only the confession of our own, the analysis of the what did they call themselves? They call themselves the United States Drug Enforcement Agency. And
DEA.
America, the UEA. So whether it be the Americans, Canadians, or British they shouldn't have a reason really to tell lies on, or to do anything biased. They're not getting any money for it. You see what I mean? And another side point I would like to mention is stronger community outreach and affordable living for the masses. And I think somebody mentioned last night, I think I saw, was it Dr. Hines? I think it was Adrian Hines who said it. He said a comment about the correlation between violence and the socioeconomics in the country. And I think that people have to discuss amongst themselves, parish by parish, community by community, constituency by constituency, the actual levels of socioeconomic standing of the people, and if this has over the last 5 to 10 or 5 to 10 years has that decreased, and to how much? You see, these are discussions that must be had, because in a country, you don't care how much policies you put in place, well, that we're still waiting for, as the leader of opposition is appealing for. Even when those policies are put in place, they have to be commensurate to what you're dealing with. It's like the Ministry of Education talking pretty about they had it was a food or a nutrition policy, was it, of some sort?
Yeah.
Campaign, right? So there's nothing wrong with having a nutrition campaign, but has the ministry took time out, class by class, school by school, to see how much of those children even have breakfast when the mornings come? And even if they do have breakfast, you can't invade people's privacy. Sometimes it's good to know if a person even had and what they had, and sometimes having a conversation with parents and families to understand their socioeconomic standing. Then you can address, and then you can cater certain things, because the truth is, when you were government, by extension government, Ministry of Education, gets to understand the socioeconomics that the constituents are dealing with, then they would be able to better, because you can't administer a solution without assessing the problem, right? So you realize that even at that level, it is happening, where poor assessment is happening in the school area. There was another video, I don't know if I really want to show that one, was with school fighting and all that sort of nonsense, but it seems like everything cart before the horse, or that kind of thing all the time. The people when it comes to lands and macro governmental negotiations, funny enough, I call it done deal. I blog and call it done deal politics, right? So getting back to the matter of crime, I think that as a country, we have to not see our security management as some big secret. We need to understand and evaluate where we're going. The government needs to point out what strategies, because we don't need another Jonathan Chase every month to understand that we need policy, and that the ports of entry have to be better managed. It cannot be good enough to say, well, okay, we have qualified persons at the helm. Great, we have qualified persons at the helm. Let those qualifications and that what's the word now? That competence relay in policy from government, and then persons on the ground doing what they have to do. Don't you agree with me, Dr. Ferd?
Yeah, well, absolutely, Abraham. One of the things that I've looked at, and I've been thinking through the day about this whole matter, in terms of the impact of drugs. How does that affect our young people? And our young people, Abraham, are trying to acquire wealth as quickly as possible. And I think a lot of them are being drawn into these aspects because of that. One of those, at least let me put it, one of the reasons I believe is, the acquisition of the material things. They see around, they watch the movies, you see the guys, on in the movies, the drug guys are the guys with the cars and with all the latest designer clothing and all these kinds of things. And they don't see themselves achieving that quick enough using what we would call the standard methods of wealth development, working, entrepreneurship, you go into the university, you go to BCC or Samuel Jackman, that kind of thing. And they tend to be moving toward toward that. But then if they
Nice.
are able to access it easily, that makes it considerably easier for them to be trapped in that vicious cycle, so to speak. You know, one of the things, Abraham, they told me is that in Miami, the lifespan of a young man who enters the drug industry in Miami from the time he enters is 5 years before he's
Wow.
dead. 5 years.
Well, the truth is, it might not only be dead, but the other word is like the status, inverted commas, because it's a continuum of not just status, but who's bigger than who. And
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
sometimes those who have a lot, the economy lasts longer. But I think that the discussion around where the whole crime policy and policy making is concerned must be discussed at a national level, and it cannot be we will get around to it, or because look at the time lapse I would have given. We are dealing with you are dealing with what? I started at 2011? I started at 2014. We are in what? We are 2025, right?
2025, 11 years on.
11 years on. And 11 years on, if you really look at the Socratic development of crime in Barbados, you would realize that 11 years on, crime and the traction and the type of firearms that you're seeing has increased. It has not decreased. And that is telling you that something has to change. In other words, it cannot be business as usual, right? And you're also saying that the Caribbean connection is not only building in terms of a prime minister going down to Ghana and speaking on a platform, but it is also in the drugs and stuff coming from between these two places.
Between the countries, yes, yeah.
Between the countries.
Skylar Watson is saying that the bottom line is that they need to go after the importers of the guns and the drugs. I think one of the things, Abraham, we have to do is to hit it at its source. A lot of the times, these guys that are getting killed, and they're almost like the foot soldiers, so to speak. But we're not hitting the source. How are they're getting into the country somehow? How are they getting into the country? Folk, just to let you know that we're waiting your calls. It is that time of the show, 9:03, and if you are interested in contributing, and we would like you to be interested in contributing to the show, the number is 2367000, 2367000. You can call to express your views or to ask a question. Not that I'm going to be able to answer it anyhow, but anyway, you can express your areas of concern, your views, what you think of what has been shared so far on the show. You have heard from Sean and Janet and yes, Janet earlier, and myself, and also from you've seen some of the Mike on the Move, and of course now from Abraham. So we want to encourage you, 2367000. This is your segment. All right, this is where you, the people, you, the loyal opposition, get to make your contribution. And so we encourage you and invite you to call us, 2367000. Well, Abraham, while we're waiting for that call to come in, let's just go ahead. When the call comes in, I'll let you know.
No problem. There's two things I want to touch on. I don't really want to call his name because this is too, in my opinion, it's just too recent. But
better not.
First, our last fallen.
Yes.
I think what people don't understand is that sometimes people may say, "Oh, we're always talking about drugs and this and that and the third." But you see how sometimes the opportunity for survival comes in that way.
Yeah.
In terms of sustaining yourself towards your goals and stuff like that. Yes, and the other thing I want to touch on before a caller comes or presents himself is what I was talking about yesterday when I called in on the show, as it relates to the security elements in Barbados, whether by land or sea, ought not to be ones who could be found to be communicating with the criminal element in terms of like telling them, we have a saying in in police say everybody know the saying, you're there. You ever heard that saying before, Dr. Freddie?
Yeah, I have. I have.
You're there, right? So, but we ought not to be that, because I strongly believe that if it is like it's like you're going to catch I don't know, monkeys or whatever the case is, inverted commas. You're gonna make a great noise to let the monkeys know you're coming. You see what I mean?
Yep,
So
absolutely.
so the same way you would do to animals or whatever the case is, the same thing as it relates to crime fighting. You know, I find that people are taking this thing as a joke, because if families are cringing because of the losing of lives senselessly, and security personnel don't see the seriousness in keeping them mouth shut, inverted commas, and understanding that the criminal element has to be rigged in the country, and to have that done effectively, you have to keep your mouth shut when it comes to operations and that sort of stuff. You can have your own opinion. Like, I mean, I had my own opinion on a lot of things in our organization, but when it comes to like the public and what's his name again, you need, when it comes to operations and stuff, that is high level, more or less. You keep those things to yourself, right? So I think once that is held firmly or firmer, then you could put more demands on the public. And the other thing is that the last thing, go on.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to interject a bit while we're looking for that call. I'm just keeping my eyes there for the call. Abraham, one of the things that has been expressed on the show, actually, and I've seen some of the comments over the last several shows, has to do with the salaries that law enforcement officers receive. And I say law enforcement officers to cover everybody within the context. I don't want to necessarily say the police, because I would also want to cover people like the Coast Guard and that kind of thing. All right. So I'm just going to say law enforcement officers. And for the time that I've spent traveling between here and the Cayman Islands and the time I spent in Cayman, I understood, and I was just checking it while you were talking. Law enforcement officers, a constable, and you would know what a constable is, okay? A constable is paid 44,928 to 47,220 CI dollars per annum. And that does not include, they're also covered for medical, 12% pension contributions, okay, other perks. And incidentally, for the listeners, a CI dollar is worth $1.28 US. So you're having police officers in Grand Cayman being paid anywhere in the ballpark of close to 50,000 US dollars a year and up. That's 100,000 Barbados dollars,
Yes.
Abraham.
Correct.
And that would be what a month? 100,000 divided by 12 is what? 8,000 and something dollars a month. Barbados, I think it works out somewhere around there. A constable.
Correct. I argued on the show last time, and somebody was saying, you to argue. I strongly believe that it is time that Barbados or Barbadians understand that between the ranks of section sergeant and constable, minimum should be like in the region of 4,000 to 5,000. And I maybe some person would say, oh, he's so reckless, how he could say that. The truth is, in this era that we are working in as it relates to 2025, if you really are trying to attract and stop persons from being as the president to say hand to mouth inverted commas. I mean,
and being exposed to the temptations, yes.
Exactly. And if you can have your own personnel as it relates to Mr. Phillips, and I don't feel distant from him, because I mean, as I was telling you, whenever my father hears that name, oh, that's my school friend, he would have known him from at school, inverted commas. And if your own is giving you these this synopsis of internal and external crime synopsis, as well as external professional organizations, it's time. You don't have to wait 10 years after to have discussions. You don't need a big conference with everybody tipping glass to red wine and stuff. it's about time, Barbados, get
Action.
past the
Yeah.
past the formal conference.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which conference room you use, if it's a big one or a small one. Enough,
Yeah.
it's enough too much talk.
Enough talk. Enough talk.
Right.
We need some action. We need some action. Folk, we need some action here tonight too. 236-7000. We need you to call in. This is your moment, 9 to 10. We dedicate this hour to you, and we are waiting your calls. 236-7000. That almost sounds like a police number, but 236-7000. Okay. Please give us a call. You can make your contributions. You don't have to identify who you are. You won't be threatened. You know, nobody's got your number that's going to be able to give it out to anybody else and anything happen to you. Okay. 236-7000. You can engage Abraham, or you can make your contribution, you know, what your view is, what your opinion is on the matter. We are discussing the whole aspect of the drug involvement, drug aspect of the country, illicit guns accessing the country, young men being able to access weapons. And this is something that is of deep concern to all Barbadians, every one of us, okay? It's affecting our communities. They're infiltrating our communities. So we want to be sure that the appropriate authorities take the matter in hand. And I agree with you, you know, Abraham, enough lot. What is not a lot of long talk? Not a lot of long talk. There was some song we used to have years ago. Not a lot of long talk. Not a lot of long talk. You know, action. Let's get some action.
And what really pains me is that not calling her name. I'm not going to call her name at all. A dear friend of mine. She believes, she's of the opinion that any blog you do assessing government and current governance, you hate the Prime Minister. It's nonsense. You know, Barbados has to get to a stage where if so much people gather around and march and jump up and down, you know, why can't you assess or continue to assess your governance and your government?
I think we have a caller on the line. As soon as I see that come up, I think we have a caller on the line. Good evening to you, caller. Good to have you on the show and welcome. Please go right ahead.
Good evening, Pastor Doctor Politician.
Good evening to you.
Yeah, do you teach African history in your church?
I do not.
You don't
do you have a question? Do you have a question? Do you have a question or observation for Mr. Abraham? Do you have a question or observation for Mr. Abraham?
No, I asked you if you don't teach, you just sing.
No, I do a lot of other things besides singing, but I am not the focus of the show tonight or my ministry. But I do a lot of other things, a lot. I do lecturing, I do training in leadership, I do a lot of things. And as a matter of fact, I do a lot of training and leadership with a lot of Africans as well.
Okay, so then you teach. I want to teach the history of the world and Africa, and I think so.
Pardon me?
The history of the world, how it began. Because you're a Christian, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so do you believe in that God created black man first, or?
Well, to be honest with you, caller, this is not a religious show. I'm not going to engage the aspect of religion on this show. We are here engaging matters that are of concern to the Barbadian public, and I can assure you that what I teach in my church is not critical for them at this point in time. That's why I ask you if you have a question relevant to what we've been discussing tonight.
Sir, you have been preaching the whole night.
No, I haven't. I certainly haven't. I certainly haven't. But nevertheless, do you have a question? Do you have a question? Do you have a question, sir, or a comment to make with regards to what we're sharing tonight?
Yes, sir. Okay. The question is, my real question for you is that Why do you hate Muslims so much? Why you always invoking Muslims? And it cannot happen.
Nobody has done that on the show, sir, and I am not even going to entertain the answering to that. All right. So thank you very much for your call. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Abraham.
Right. I think we have to embrace the fact that a country has that governance as it is right now should be. And in that agreement must come, as I heard Marcia always speak of this, continual assessment. You know, it's almost like if you buy a lawnmower and it works the first month, it might have who knows, it might have a 6-month warranty, it might have a year warranty, how much ever, whatever. And it stops working the 3rd month, you don't say, but okay, I buy it. I can keep up. In vertical basis, I can keep up. You say, well, okay, if it has stopped.
Sorry to cross you. We have another caller.
Go on.
To remember your last words. Okay. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show. Good night.
Yes, this is Victor Young.
Hi, Victor. How are you?
Hi, sir.
This is Victor Broadback Young, the Barbados senior athlete.
Yes, sir. I hope I can be as good as you when I get to when I grow up.
No, you got to start from young.
Okay. I used to do a little bit of that.
Anyhow, my concern tonight is that if we were serious about drugs out of this country, when you go around, you hear guys go to a shop, because I thought they were talking about wrapping bread or something, and you hear a guy says, I want some wrappers. And the person who is selling them tell him for something. Rich that can buy a loaf of bread if you want to eat. But we are not serious. We are sport makers, and we like a lot of sport. You see, we are not serious about anything in Barbados. The politicians are not serious, and some of the citizens are not serious. Because I cannot understand, if you're talking about drugs, why would you import wrappers? You should be checking every place and making sure that wrappers are not available to wrap that thing in for there to smoke and look like zombies.
Well, what would you suggest to the the authorities as some of the ways that we could curb this?
All those rappers or the people who are trying should be banned.
Okay. So you prohibit the importation of all of them.
That's right. Because you cannot tell me that a lot of these people who in security, the police department, the politics, don't know was a rapper. I wasn't familiar with a rapper till today. When I went after my training, I heard this guy come into the place and said, give me a rapper. I thought he was waiting on something to wrap bread or something. So, and I see this little folder, and he folded up. His fingers look like they got a stroke. You know, when I got a stroke, your fingers look like it. Your fingers don't bend, they keep straight, right? So his fingers were still straight, and he was trying to rap. So what that is telling you, that is affecting him in the early. He's becoming a zombie soon. Actually just walking and taking that space where other people could get space to live.
So if we prohibit
other people who want to live.
So you're saying then that we should prohibit the importation of all of these aspects so that they don't have the material in order.
Okay. But you see what is happening? A lot of people is making money off of these things.
Yes.
They're making money, and it's in the small fellow that is making the money. It is the big people who are making the money. And got you there to guinea pig.
Well, then how do you suggest to the law enforcement aspect and the authorities to go about identifying and dealing with the big people?
Do the job. That's the idea. Do the job. Don't be scared
enforce the law
from one station to another station, and then they move you from that department and put you in somewhere else. Do your job. Got guts. I was in the service, and I did my job in the fire department with guts. Because my chief, when I come into him with a couple of reports, he wanted to cancel some because at Christmas time he used to get a pig leg from one of the people. So the person called me and tell you straight, I inspected his place and so forth. And then again he asked me, what about this particular one? I tell him, if you cancel one, you will cancel all. And the next month I resigned and went off to university and do insurance law. I was a top insurance person. If you look at the history in the nation and all those papers, you would see me there as top agent.
But thank you so much.
10.5 years in the insurance business, writing all areas of insurance.
But thank you so much, caller. We appreciate you calling in, and above all, we appreciate your suggestion. And I trust that the authorities are listening, because you know everybody has the capability of a part to play in it. All right. So thank you so very much. We appreciate you, Victor, giving us a call. Thank you, sir. Hello, you there? Okay, I guess he's rung off. But we want to thank you, Victor, for calling in. Thank you so very much, bringing your experience of the years to bear. Victor, you wanted to comment with regards to what he said?
Oh,
I mean, Abraham. Sorry.
he was dealing on he was dealing on what again? He was specifically dealing on, is it his work, or was it his what?
I think he was looking at his work, and in terms of the authorities engaging what they should be doing. I guess I could capsulate it in enforcing the law, and of course, you know, he mentioned the aspect of prohibiting the importation of everything.
Right.
I guess that would be
that's what I wanted to say.
associated with,
Right.
yeah.
I think that what he might have is, he might be well intentioned, but you see, you got to get realistic. The law has allowed. I went to school long, but not regular as it relates to the amount. But the law has allowed a quantity to be smoked or to be used, and you can't get to what's the word now? So unrealistic. And then you have to understand that in Barbados, you got to call a spade too. Another one, as it relates to the Rastafarian community who have their religious practices and stuff.
Yes.
And I must say this, because people need to respect what's called religious use and ritual. But then it goes outside that box, would be obviously the economic and criminal oscillation of the whole affair, right? So I think there's a thin line between wanting to stop rappers and stuff from being sold, and infringing on people's right to existence and their freedom of religious expression. So that's another problem that you really need to manage and not let get out of, because too far left can't be right. In other words,
you know, but they talk about something called drug abuse, Abraham. And I once heard, I think it was Dr. Miles Monroe, define abuse as the abnormal use of something, which means that it has a good aspect to it, but if it is not used in the manner that it's supposed to be, then it's abused, and then it becomes detrimental to you. You know, and he used some rather hilarious examples. You know, like somebody using a food mixer. You know, those mixers you used to have in your hands that you beat the eggs with.
There's one or two.
Yeah, with the two prongs looking down. Yeah, he used that in order to clean your car, to vacuum the car. and you know, I mean, it's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? So that is an aspect that we have to pay attention to. We seem to have another caller. Good evening. This is the Marcia Week Show, and welcome to you, caller. Good evening.
Hello, good night, Dot.
Good night.
How are you, Dot? Good night, Rev. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks.
Good night to everybody in Barbados.
Thank you.
Good night.
I'm so confused about what's going on in Barbados. I can't already ask the questions. You know, I hear the commissioner of police saying, "Oh, now we can go after those that, you know, are bringing in the guns and those that, you know, in the news conference the commissioner of police didn't make, right? And I was like, why is he saying this now? This should be an ongoing, everyday something, you know? So I'm just trying to ask, who is really in charge of Barbados? Is it the criminals or the law enforcement people?
Well, it's a good question. It's a good question, especially when you consider that I believe it was Mr. Caswell Franklin that expressed the concern when well-known drug individuals were invited to the opening of Parliament, and as a result of that, you know, you have this. This association, you know, my mother used to tell me as a teacher, you can tell a man by the company he keeps. And so you have this association, which in itself tends to engender a sense of arrogance among these individuals who feel then that because of who they're associated with, and it would appear, you know, folk don't just get an invitation to Parliament, the opening of Parliament, that goes out from a specific location and from a specific individual. And so when you have that kind of thing happen, then, you know, there is that association where people feel they are untouchable, and, you know, and hence there's a compromise. And so these are some of the challenges that we're facing. I can tell you Barbados is still a beautiful country. Its people are still some of the most wonderful people you will find, but we are engaging an element in the country that we need to hear an end to all the lot of long talk. And we need to see not just people arrested, Abraham, because I'm sure you will comment on this, you know, when the caller goes off, so they can hear your response. But in terms of the trials, you know, the court cases and the enforcement of these laws. And so, caller, I don't know, is that your contribution? Is that what you wanted to express?
Yeah, that is one of them also. But I would like to see the commissioner and the attorney general really come out and start doing their jobs instead of making these, you know, these peace statement here we can do this and peace statement here we can do that, you know. And why is it that the soldiers or defense force are sitting there and doing nothing? In Jamaica, the soldiers work with the police. You know, I mean, we don't want to have a military state, but you have to bring the soldiers out to help the police fight these criminals in Barbados. Every day on YouTube, you know, we are seeing these things up in America. It looks like, what's going on in Barbados? We are losing our Barbados every day.
Right.
Sitting back and making statements that is not.
But do you think that person should? Do you think persons should resign because we are obviously not overcoming the challenge? I mean, this has been happening now, Abraham, for several years.
Can I respond to him or not yet?
Yeah, sure. Go right ahead.
I have to interject quickly to say, first of all, I hate when I hear this. I hate when I hear this. You cannot blame the army. The army does their job, and they do their work efficiently. What I think you might want to say is that the police force of itself, for many reasons, not only just because of numbers. I spoke last night to the equilibrium need for in terms of firepower, in terms of you can't only have a nucleus or a nucleus plus another. I wouldn't say everything, but a nucleus plus another arm of the same nucleus carrying a certain carry or a certain caliber of weapon, and not all be doing it because of the level of firepower that the average police officer could be open to interact with within the community. I think the discussions must be had that as I said last night in the Beijing dialect, the littlest police officer, all should be, in my opinion, having an upgrading not only a part to play in it, but the upgrading the carrying of weapons in terms of you're not going to carry a gutter pert. You're not going to carry a gutter pert to a M16 fight. You know, so you have to get realistic, and then you have. And I said last night, that you want police officers to get back home safely. So that is going to be the case. You have to have equal firepower, and not only equal firepower, but having the all and sundry being able to be comfortable with such, because you cannot be putting your people at danger
At
and
risk,
expecting that you're going
yes.
at risk and expect that you're going to be having this full comment. People have
Right.
common sense. Go
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, no, we just want to thank the caller for their call. Thank you so very much, caller. But no, Abraham, in terms of that type of thing, there needs to be obviously an upgrade. Needs to be obviously a change. And the other thing that troubles me, because sometimes you watch television, because we are not exposed to some of the things to the level that there are in some of the other
Right.
countries of the world. We are a small
Right.
community, and it's a community where almost everybody knows everybody else, kind of thing. And
Correct.
one of the things that I've always wondered about is that policemen going around enforcing the law and doing their duty, are easily identified. People know people know people know people, kind of thing. And then people maybe, some of them may be hesitant, because of course some of these guys will target your family, target your children, target your wife's workplace or whatever. And sometimes I wonder, what's going through the minds of our
Well,
law
but
enforcement officers.
Dr. Freddie, I mean, to say that is what you're saying hasn't changed 40 years ago or 50 years
Hmm.
ago. The nature of the job, when you sign up for this thing, okay, some guys in my, I won't have to call names. Some guys in my area would see me when I remember years when they just joined the force. Somebody would tell me, man, if you find one, and bring one for. You know what I said?
Yeah, yeah.
I think I find one. I mean, people make that kind of stupid sport, but what I'm trying to say is that I think if you are who you are, despite you can't hide. There's nowhere to hide. So
Right.
that kind of talk, that kind of fearful talk, really can't exist. When you sign up for is this the army? When you sign up to be in the army, you don't know if you're going to come out home the next day. So I'm not saying that careless. I'm not saying that you're supposed to go about carelessly
No,
like that.
not at all. I mean, because the level of threat has increased dramatically, and the
Of
type
course,
of threat that you can get. I mean, to the point where you don't even have to see people before you get hit. But I agree.
exactly.
If you sign up, if it's something you want to pursue in life, then you carry with it, or you carry with yourself, the dangers that are associated with it. And the
Not only that,
reality is, go ahead.
not only that, but this kind of when the dressing, I understand that because what I'm speaking about is in the news there. I'm not bringing any new evidence to
Yeah,
bear.
yeah.
The Attorney General, thanks very much for increasing the women's dorms. It's when the dressing is not cutting it. I heard him
Yeah.
said something. And it just came back to me as you were speaking, and he was speaking of a lot of women are coming forward. Women were always coming forward in the police force. It was such that it was always the case. But what he is not saying, because there's something called half truths. What he is not saying is that because of the amount of men that are coming forward, as the saying goes, as the Benjamin would say, a lot of them are found wanting. So he has. You cannot open up the batting talking about, oh, there's lots of women coming forward. No, say the full truth. Say that the full truth is that there are a lot of women coming forward, and that and in the effort to accommodate them, you would obviously have to build more dorms. The other part of the story is that when the research is done and you do the background checks and stuff like that, you can't have persons coming in, whether man or woman or alien, inverted commas. And when you do the background checks, somebody in the village that is in the criminal element got them in the pockets. You know what I'm saying? So
Right. Yes.
so he meaning the attorney general must be more fulsome. I heard the former Minister of Education, when that was a word that was with her, fulsome. Remember when she was talking about that word, fulsome?
But
When she was talking
one
about
of yeah, sorry, one of the things as well running through my mind, because we see so much of this happening on the island. People are taking up the role, and I understand that it's a bit difficult now. Yeah, I don't think they're getting the response that they would like to get in terms of people enrolling and getting
can,
involved in the police
can I respond to you
service.
right?
Yeah, sure.
Can I respond to you right there? I can bet your honest dollar, if the government of Barbados can give, how much is it the person from France was given in terms of it was 100 and something thousand. I'm not sure how much it was. I don't have these figures to hand, but it was not as a mentor. I mean, I call it no, that the government is hire. The government
Consultant.
Consultant. And if you can give a consultant so much money, you're trying to tell me that you can't pay a police properly, even giving them a minimum $4,000 to $5,000 a month. No, man, don't bring that to me. The government has the money. If the government can find the money to pay all of these consultants and stuff, I am telling you,
they can find the money to pay the police properly.
Of course, they can find it. Of course, they can find it. You can find time to engage in multi-million-dollar hoteliers and stuff, and people marching up, as you officer marching up and down, and you can't find money to pay your security personnel. No, man, don't bring that to me. The problem is when Barbados can properly manage a salary. So you see, you have to look at the history of policing and the history of American elitism and classism upon which the police came out of, and that kind of like colonial kind of thing. I strongly believe that you have to better facilitate the rights of constable, sergeant, and inspector and station sergeant. Once those rights who are actually more on the ground can be better paid, you would find in my opinion, a better caliber of person coming forward to the police force, because they would commit you would, and you would find, and no offense to academic and skilled, but you would find more skillful persons who, in my opinion, would have I don't want to say it the wrong way, but a more alert or rounded aptitude as it relates to the academics and stuff, coming forward and say, you know what, this looks like a salary that I can risk my life or to give of service to the country. Go on.
Well, that's why I raised the matter of the salaries in the Cayman Islands, because we have a lot of police, Barbadian police in the Cayman Islands. A lot of them went over to the Cayman Islands. But
yes,
you know, one of the things, Abraham, that I was talking with someone, I won't tell you who they are. They were involved quite heavily with paintball, and I'm sure you're familiar with paintball. And you know, one of the things that they told me, they had a competition one day between themselves, that's the people of the Paintball Association and so on, and the Barbados Defense Force. And they massacred the Defense Force. And the reason they told me that it is because there, of course, you know, in paintball, you have to hit a moving target. Of course, just from what I was told, I'm not an expert. I'm just relating what I was told. But they were saying that the Defense Force police are shooting at stationary targets. But in paintball, you have to hit a moving target. Well, you know paintball, you know, you have to hit a moving target. And as a result of that, you know, many of them were really, really, really good. And when they took on the Defense Force, they actually beat them. And that was a shock to the Defense Force, you know. We have another caller on the line. That was at the time. I don't know what the Defense Force, it was up somewhere up by Paragon, up that area. But we have another caller on the line. Good evening and welcome to the Marcia Week Show. Please go right ahead and share your question or your comment. Go right ahead. Welcome.
Yes, good night. I have
good night.
A major concern with what is happening in Barbados these days. A lot of emphasis is placed on the economic, you know, the economy and so on and so forth. Could it be, Mr. Millington, do you think that leadership at this stage of our development, leadership holds the key to resolving these issues? The reason why I say that, do you think if we have a leader with a national vision such that that leader can have an idea as to where we need to go or want to go as a nation, one, and what is needed to take us where we want to go, and setting some standards, national standards, all kinds of standards. Do you think such would help us to get out of this situation?
I have to ask you two questions. Do you mean leadership in national security, or you mean leadership in the country altogether?
Leadership in the country altogether.
Well,
Broadly speaking, leadership.
Well, I can tell you this there for a fact. You have to look at what you're dealing with right now. You have a leader that was innately privileged, and that's not knocking anything, because we've had other leaders that had a measure of privilege, but when you have a person that has had innate privilege, and I mentioned earlier about the situation of school children and the enforcement of a nutrition policy and whatever the case is, and all these fancy things, but not sufficient background, parish by parish, school by school, whatever you want to call it, of the actual socioeconomic standing of these children and slash parents. Now, what you are asking me is to identify priorities, and you would think a person 30 plus years in politics or around politics, if not in around politics, would understand that multi-billionaires and macro projects are good, but the actual people on the ground, which are the majority, which are low socioeconomic, must have policy and government and private sector, whatever you want to call it, that benefits their holistic development. If that's not happening, and a mere less than 10% is being facilitated, would you call that utilitarian oversight?
I'm sorry, you were a bit muffled there, and I was not getting you as clearly as I would like.
I'm saying, if you are realizing, if you're not hearing me clearly?
Hello? Sorry? It seems as though there's some kind of interference, or the wind is in your mic or something like that. There's a fan in the background. Hello? I'm losing you.
I have a fan in my background. Let me see if I turn off my mic, if it gets better.
I think I was muted for some reason. Yeah, sorry about that. I was saying that if you realize that macro businesses and big projects and whatever the case is seems to be the flagship of the day, and constituency empowerment as it relates to how you can not only benefit schools but families and whatever the case is not really at the forefront. I'm saying, do you think that is utilitarian oversight? Utilitarian meaning the greater good, in other words, for the benefit of the masses. Do you think you think that is not the issue, in other words?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understand. But anyway,
I'm gonna put it in Bajan dialect then. F the leader that you are speaking of. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
It is somewhat cloudy, muffled, and I'm not understanding everything you are saying. That's my problem. But maybe listen. Do you? All right, go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, caller. Thank you. But let me just interject here on the matter of leadership, Abraham and caller. Thank you for your question. John Maxwell has an interesting statement I've heard for many years, and I just want to read a caption from it. It says, "Everything rises and falls on leadership." Emphasizes that leadership is the cornerstone of success, and that strong leadership is essential for any endeavor to thrive. And I would imagine any endeavor, Abraham, would mean the success in the law enforcement areas of law enforcement, the success in areas of national governance, wherever leadership is required. Of course, national leadership, that would be from the government, and more specifically from the Prime Minister, would establish the condition or the environment for
Right.
things to be achieved and things to thrive. So if we are what I believe he's suggesting, and thank you, caller, for your call, and appreciate you calling in. But I think what he's trying to suggest is that a lot of the challenges that we're facing is as a result of poor leadership. Let me be brutally frank on it. What he considers to be poor leadership.
Yeah,
Of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
indeed, indeed. I
Yeah.
think. Sorry?
No, I was just saying
Okay.
thank you very much. Thank you very much for your question.
Oh, I wanted to add something else there. Now, I think also we need to consider the broader political implications of what is happening in Barbados. Okay? I also think that we can arrest this crisis that we are in if we take a serious look at migration into Barbados, because I think the different cultures that are coming in to Barbados and bringing in different attitudes and perspectives, I think that is causing a lot of disruption in Barbados.
In
And
terms
I
of,
would
of
say
our
that
own culture.
Sorry?
In terms of our own culture, yes.
Yes, and I think we need to manage migration into Barbados, because a lot of the problems are coming in to Barbados.
Okay.
Because the Barbados I grew up in was not like this. We never had this level of criminal activity.
Yes,
Okay?
yes.
And finally, I would say we as a nation have to look and see that what is happening, in my estimation, is genocidal. And that genocide is targeted at young Black men. Okay? We have to look at that as well. And until we look at it in this, from this perspective, we are not going to solve our problem.
Okay, thank you so very much. Appreciate you putting that point on the table as well. Thank you.
All the best,
Yes,
sir.
Abraham.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Blessings. Yes, Abraham. The aspect of, I have heard a lot said about the targeting of young men. There is I do know there's a global agenda. There is a global agenda. I have often spoken of global agendas here. In terms of depopulation, this is a reality, whether we like to admit it or not. And each territory is being pressed into those kind of things. And I think that does have an aspect that we have to be very vigilant to ensure that we're not setting an environment where that's the type of thing that's happening, because we are seeing a lot of young men being killed.
Yeah, but you see, I think not that I'm trying to feel for men over women or women over men.
No.
I think that what I think a lot of people don't understand is that, especially in Barbados, if the criminologists or criminological research were to come from behind the veil, would realize that over the last probably 20 to 30 years, women and young girls in Barbados, even within education and otherwise, education, business, socioeconomic, business and development, whatever you want to call it, and even into political sphere, have started to pull away from more or less the men at the front. And where I'm going with this is that if women in Barbados have been able to mastermind and have such intercontinental reach, don't you think that the same way the women could have that intercontinental reach and socioeconomic growth, that the same thing would not apply to the masterminding of crime? I think that what is happening in Barbados is almost like a blind eye. I don't know if it is that because most of Bajan men still think that women are lesser than, because a lot of men in Barbados are very much in denial. They think that a woman is lesser than in terms of
they're very misogynist.
Very much so.
Is that
no? But
that's the word they use now?
That's the academic word. But the truth is that, put in Bajan terms, They think, you know, they're more than women. But the problem is that I feel that women have so advanced, not only academically but socioeconomic. They're very thrifty and stuff. That the criminological assessment of what's going on has not looked very much at the crime mobilization and organized crime. Because what I think is happening in Barbados right now, research would prove me right in a few years to come, that the mobilization of women at the rate that it has happened over the last 5 to 10 years has not only benefited on the positive, but there's also some hints that that can Socratically point that the mastermind of crime where women are concerned, and the fact that you don't even speak to it shows that, you know, that is need for concern. I don't know if you're following me. It's almost like if it's a taboo topic. You know, it's like nobody wants to touch it. It's almost like if, you know, when it comes to men and crime, whoa, the men this and the men that. But when it comes to women in Barbados and the mastermind of crime, or the ability to have interclass mobilization of organized crime, nobody want to talk about it. But these, you have to understand that who has the pen and the mediatory instruments also has the power to do not only good but evil.
Yes, yes. But you know, you talk about people not wanting to talk about things. I remember my mother being on the child care board, and she wouldn't tell us who they are. But you know, one of the things I remember in a discussion we were having, that she said to me, "You don't hear people talk about the abuse of children by mothers or by women, but you hear them always talk about the abuse of children by fathers or men. But we have a lot of abuse happening among our children by women and mothers." And I was shocked. She, at the time, of course, it wasn't at the same level as it probably is now. I don't know what the level would be now. This was quite a long time ago. But I was quite surprised because I never gave it a thought. I never thought at any point in time that a woman would ever abuse a child, you know, and it's the kind of thing that the men do, you know, because the men have feelings, the women are heart people, you know, that's how I was thinking. So I understand the idea that you're sharing where that's not an area that investigation is of, at least I certainly don't hear about it.
Not enough. And I think what has happened in Barbados is that so much men too have been hurt. Not to, because I think we have heard enough about, but a lot of men bashing. And I find that is almost like, you call it the silent bully. I would call it the silent bully, where you could find women can do whatever, you know, and nobody speaks to it, can mobilize and behind the scenes tear down men in terms of the mockery of them and stuff. And then what would happen is that where a lot of this starts too is when you find a mother with the fathers and playing the, you know, the role and from as young as probably 3 to 5 or whatever the case is, that boy child can just see his mother just going at them. So you would then see that rage, more or less that rage in young men coming forward. And I'm not the show hasn't been drifting into like men versus women and stuff like that. It's not that.
No,
but I think
no,
that
not at all.
What has to be spoken to is that sometimes the rage that you see in some men, I don't think that the government on a whole is even starting to even look at that, because let's ask right now how much families or how much persons that are going to school are either single parent or that, you know, that the mothers, most mothers have to do it, technically speaking, on their own. That ratio, if you have to do a analysis of that, and don't tell me that most of the mothers are so happy and they're so delighted. Some of them they don't even know how they're gonna make it next week, you know. And a mother that is in that kind of a mental mode, 99.99% of the time is in a very as the Benjamin said, antsy, you know, aura. And sometimes that anger and angst is met up onto the both men and women, especially the boys. But go on.
Yes. No. I was agreeing with you. I was agreeing
Right.
with
So
you. A lot of it,
I think,
it plays out into the boy children, particularly, you know, and the whole aspect of anger management and the resolution of conflict, You know,
Right.
I often say, you remember there was an old song that used to go, if a picture, I mean, it's a romantic one, but it says, if a picture paints 1,000 words, and why can't I paint you? I think what it was simply trying to say is that what we see is more impactful than what we are told.
Correct.
If you follow what I'm saying, you know, and a lot of the times in our household, children are told things, but then what they see actually play out is a different matter. And what a
Correct.
lot of people don't realize is that this then becomes rooted and grounded in their psyche. So as they grow up and as they develop these responses, because this is how I saw, you know, my parents resolve this, or my brothers resolve this, or brothers and sisters resolve this. It goes out then into the community where they are. And I
Right.
think this is one of the areas that I mentioned a little earlier, Abraham, the very critical importance that the household, don't let me just say the parents, that the household plays in contributing to what we are witnessing.
Yeah, because I strongly believe that right now men are really in crisis in Barbados.
Well, someone
At
has
one
said
point,
here males are being marginalized. That
of
Lancelot
course,
1236. Yes, go ahead.
yeah, yeah, and I think that when you can see so much anger, I'm not saying that women don't get angry too, and women can't be aggressive, because they have some women that would be, as the Benjamin
Oh,
said, let me stuff in, let me stuff in.
you mean beat the, I know they would probably prefer hear me say this. That's beat the hell out of you.
Exactly. No, but we have to, when you're looking at
Ah,
what's happening on the ground in Barbados in terms of the
yeah.
rage and stuff amongst youth,
Yes. Yes.
not only in the schools, but as we can see, without calling names of the incidents that we've had recent,
Hmm.
you can't just, it can't just be, oh, just the gun, just the that. You have to look deeper to see where a lot of the rage has started. Because there's some young boys, because of the anger that they face from probably their mothers at home. Well, if the father's in it, they can't face it they can't get it from the father, because if he's not around, somebody will have to be in their face. You see what I mean?
Hmm.
Or you know, and then
Well,
I'm
it
not,
could be the boyfriend, or it could be the stepfather, or something
that
like that as
too,
well.
that too,
Hmm.
and you know, but what I'm trying to say is that there's no one
No.
point to
No.
the bad thing, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is upon that premise that I think that government has to be more holistic when they're
Hmm.
dealing with
Hmm.
governments of the schools, because look at it this way. I'm going to end with this point.
Hmm.
You bring this whole policy of nutrition into Barbados. So you want to revamp this and revamp that. I heard the person, what's his name again? The guy that's dealing with the education. What's his name again?
Mr. Blackman.
Here they were, Sir Blackman. Come on, let's be real. Government and educate and all that sort of stuff. Look, what's his name again that had the modern school? Mr.
Oh
Lynch.
goodness.
You can walk
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
You can walk into Lynch School with your shirt color that you come from digging yams. You know, so I think there's relevance in it, but he has to go. It has to start from the fundamentals, from the elementary or whatever the case is. It should be a norm, and it used to be the norm in Barbados. You have to ask why and how did it stop? But it was, I guess, because people thought it was too strict back then, because you had to come in when you come to the gates inspection and this and that. So we have moved from that strictness and allowing inverted commas anything to go. But again, like the gentleman that from I don't have to mention the school who just passed. I'm talking about our latest fallen.
Uh-huh.
When
Uh-huh.
you see people can't do certain things in terms of survival, now if you're saying a lot of children come in school, here's where the government keeps putting the cart before the horse. If you see a lot of children come in school with the shirt collars like the digging yams, and the nails unkempt. The shoes look like they came from the quarry before they came to school. Now, are you going to get down on these children, or are you going to have conversation with the parents? I think that you see, and sometimes when you introduce certain things, it also shows the level of privilege that the minds that are governing the country. Like you can have a prime minister that went that on each of step of her education from Miss Carrington to Queen's College to other no, she has never understood the the annals of, I'm talking about abject poverty. You know, abject. I'm being realistic.
Yeah,
You may
yeah,
have a friend.
yeah.
You may have a friend in some distant village or something. But I'm not talking about because you're representing a area and you're a thing. What I'm saying is that government needs to be more realistic and approach this thing and say, you know what, we used to have such standards. Now we have them no longer. How can we maintain them? But let Mr. Blackman know that this ain't no start with him. From
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Lynch, what's his name again? I can't remember his first name, but Lynch from the modern
I
school.
don't either. Yeah, I remember.
Some modern nights, not modern nights, is it? Yeah, modern nights. The modern nights would know who I'm talking about. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But there was an era in Barbados where you could not leave, you could not enter the school gates with nails looking like you're just coming from digging yams, or that your shirt collar like you just came from in the potato ground. You see what I mean? Right, exactly. So but dealing with those things is one thing. But I think going back to our last situation about fallen, we have to balance classism, elitism, and the equity of the educational system to cater to all schools and all persons of walks of life.
Yeah, Mr. Louis Lynch.
Louis Lynch, that's the name, correct.
Louis Lynch, yes. Well, you know,
and
just one final point quickly, because our, believe it or not, time has gone by so quickly. But you know, as you were speaking to the matter of and I made a note here, carrot before the horse. You know, government keeps implementing policy without conversation. In other words, you're sitting down in an office or in a boardroom making decisions for the general public, and you have not engaged the general public in a conversation concerning the matter so that they can be contributory to how to the policy. Don't let me say anything about how, to the policy.
Right,
You get in
correct.
your enclosed crystal cathedrals, if you want to put it, crystal
Four
environment,
walls, they call four walls.
your glass walls, you know, and so on,
Right.
and you make policy. And you haven't gone out and talked with the young people concerning what their needs are, what is happening to them, what are they suffering from, how are things at home, but you make policy. You haven't talked to the parents, you haven't talked to the Parent Teachers Association, you haven't talked to the teachers, you haven't talked to the drink producers. You know, you haven't had a conversation, but you're going to make policy. And this is the challenge, I think. Yeah, you know, this is the challenge. School meals. I'm seeing their school meals is not nutrition. A lot of elbows, corned beef, and tuna. Well, the tuna is pretty good, but and I'm not too sure the corned beef, but too much pasta might not be a good thing. But the tuna isn't bad at all. I learned today that tuna has a very high level of protein, actually. So tuna is not bad for you. But you know, Abraham, this is the thing that we're facing, in my mind, that we continue to implement policy, discuss policy, take it to Parliament, have it passed in Parliament, carry it to the Senate, have it passed in the Senate, take it to the President, have it proclaimed, and you haven't had a conversation with the people.
Well, I think our beloved Senator, what's her name again? Senator Dr. Crystal Haynes.
Crystal Haynes.
Crystal Haynes, poor, you know, as the old people say, poor child. She tried to ask a question, you know, and just asking a question, she was no more.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
if a decorated person of her caliber could ask a question and she's no more, I wonder what happened to these regular folks like you and I, man.
Exactly.
If we ask a question, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Abraham, it's 10:04 p.m. and I know that my producer is pulling at my jeans leg, you know, in terms of the show. I want to thank you so very much for coming on tonight and sharing so much valuable information. I mean, I'm going to, if it's all right with you, I'm going to ask Dave at some point to send me some of that information that I can follow up and read on it a bit more as well. But I want to thank you for your contribution to the show tonight. Always tremendously educational whenever you're on, and I thank you so very much for that. Even though you're up in Canada, we get it. We understand. We won't hold that against you. You're still a Barbadian, okay? So, and of course, you know, we could not have had this successful show. we couldn't have had a successful show without the loyal opposition. So we want to thank every single one of you. Of course, there are far too many of you right now to call your names. I definitely am not even going to attempt to do that or try that. All right. So don't hold that against me. But we want to thank you all of you that called in. Thank you for your calls. Regardless, we appreciate you taking the time to call 236-7000. Write it down so that when we come to this time, 9 o'clock at the show, you're able to make your calls and make your contribution. All right. So thank you for being with the Marcy Week show tonight. Again, Abraham, thank you. We want to thank Jeanette and Sean for earlier as well. And Dave, we want to shout out Dave, for the great background work he does. We appreciate you so very much, Dave. Thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen of the loyal opposition, good night and God bless you.
God bless.
When you take a look at this country, I know you're seeing red. I know you're seeing red. Because of my name, you may want to play me, but you're seeing red. I know you're seeing red. When you look at this project, it will get you upset. Where did we get so much money to invest so badly? When you look at their duty, a lot of sensitive, but it's a lesson in bad planning, and more money we spending. Greenland landfill are still made, while mangroves still operate. You must hold your head and shout, oh Lord, all them millions that it costs. After all that cost, just 8,000. Bring bulldozer, knock it down. So remarkable is politics. We gave them fellas 26. So I know that you're seeing red, but you're keeping quiet instead. The situation at red is when you see the treasury red. The only red they can blame me for, that I will accept without question, is the sea of red down here at the stadium. When my people are wearing red, when my people are wearing red, why we waste money so heaven knows. I look sure on that side very close.